There's an NBA 2K esports league, and the Knicks have made their hire for who they will be their head scout. It is Jerry Ferrara.
October 2016, when I created Famous Enough, I didn't know what I was doing. February 9th, 2017, the NBA and Take-Two created the NBA 2K League. I wanted to get in. I wanted a team that had my passion, my drive. I wanted a champion. February the 2nd, 2018, I chose Miami.
From the NBA standpoint, this is our fourth league. Of course, we have the NBA, the WNBA, and the G League, and now this is the fourth league in our family, and that's exactly as we're treating it, one more professional league.
And now, with the first pick in the 2018 NBA 2K League Draft, Mavs Gaming selects Artreo Boyd, aka Dimes, from Cleveland, Ohio.
We are now joined by indeed the #1 pick in the inaugural NBA 2K draft. Dimes, pro gamer, welcome.
Appreciate it.
Much.
Thanks for having me.
So how did that feel?
Baby.
How did that feel to hear Adam Silver call your name?
So most cliche thing ever, but surreal, very surreal. You know, he announced our favorite players, T-Mac and Fireside and everybody else, so it's just surreal.
With the 14th pick of the 5th round in the 2018 NBA 2K League Draft, 76ers GC selects T-Fresh from Georgia.
I'm lost of words right now. Mija, I love you. My son Leo, man, I know they looking at me right now. Man, I appreciate everybody, man. I'm just, man, I'm lost of words, yo. And for everybody who doubted me and passed that on me, I'm coming. I'm coming. I'm coming.
He's ready.
I'm coming. I am coming.
That doesn't get you excited. Look at that stage here in beautiful New York City. Welcome to the NBA 2K League studios here in the Big Apple.
Game one, man. I told you he was going to put on the show, right? First ever I told these guys halftime, yo, we not walking out here without that W, and that's what happened. We locked in, got the W. Let's get it, man. Let's get it, man. Come on, man. We here, man. Piston GT, Detroit versus everybody. Come on. What? Man, hold up. Hold it up there, hold it up, hold it up there. Hey, hold it up there. For the cameraman, hold it up there. Hey.
First one, how you feeling? How you feeling?
Number one for a reason. Number one for a reason. It's my city now. Come on, man. Adam, give me 5, Adam. Come on. Let him through, let him through.
Playmaker? Okay.
But you got to think, you like what me and Don do, right? Like we're in esports, all that, and that's something that you might look for. You have so much time to like get really good at this game, or at any game in general. You could get good at this game for the next 3 years, and then decide maybe it's another game that I want to get good at. You got plenty of time, man. That's the one thing you have that Dimes and I were running out of before this league started. It's like we're 24 years old, and you may not think that's old, but in esports it could be a little bit. So man, just you got time, enjoy everything. But you know, anytime you have a chance to get better, just take advantage of it.
Fire. What's up, chat? What's up, everyone? Hope you guys enjoyed that intro video. I can't even lie, man. Like, that's the first time me seeing that video. So even me, like, I was kind of kind of choking up a little bit watching that video. So I hope you guys enjoyed that. You know, obviously I don't need to speak on what everyone knows, what has happened, where the league is right now and where it stands. If you guys don't know me, obviously I've been in the league or was a part of the league for 7 years. I was a player from season 1 all the way to season 4. And then I took a full-time role with the 2K League as marketing coordinator, where I worked for them in New York City as well. So been close with the league from the very beginning till I guess what we can call now the end. So very emotional video to see that. You know, a lot of memories, a lot of people you meet along the way, a lot of things you get to experience. I think that ultimately is what's so special about the league and what we had and what we created. And ever since the change, obviously you guys know I haven't really spoke on it too much publicly. Like at the end of the day, I'm a professional and it is what it is. And like, you kind of have to like close that door and focus on the next chapter. And that's what I've done. And, you know, I'm in a great place now and I'm really happy with where I'm at. And I never got to openly speak about the league and speak to the community about it and just share with you guys like everything from the ins and outs. I know a lot of you guys were either players or like you guys watched the league and there may be some questions that you never got answered or details that you would like to know more about. And so that's really the reason I wanted to create this episode. So to kind of peel back the layers for you guys, give you guys a little bit more insight. Obviously, we're going to have some special guests on today. We're going to bring in BD, Brendan Donohue, who was, you know, my boss, my commissioner, the marketing director of the 2K League from start all the way until season 6. We're going to have Harris on, who was obviously a big part of the broadcast team, also worked behind the scenes with the league, and then Bear. We should have Nadal on also, Mom, I'm That Man, but he's running into some stuff. He's busy, so he might join a little bit late, but wanted to, again, do this episode to just show not only like my appreciation for the league and for everything it did for me and the opportunities it brought me and the doors it opened and the people I got to meet and literally like from top to bottom, everything. Wanted to show appreciation to the league on that end. And I felt like this was a good place to do that with the community that I've built and I'm so close with, and a place for you guys to ask questions, a place for you guys to get answers on different things. And obviously, listen, like this is not a place to like bash the league or like, you know, talk down on new leadership or whatever the case may be. Like this is really just a place for me to like show my appreciation for the league, everyone a part of the league, the players I met along the way, the teams I was a part of. I mean, these are people that I'll be friends with for the rest of my life. And it's honestly something that's opened doors for me to get me where I am now in my career, that I'll forever be grateful for. So like, it's a place to have an open, transparent conversation with, you know, me, Bear, BD, Harris, and you guys as well. So feel free to ask questions as this episode goes along. We'll cover a ton of different topics, you know, from start to finish of the league, things, you know, we would like to have seen different or whatever the case may be. So guys, again, please feel free to share your opinion, share your questions. Obviously we're not going to answer every single question, and I'm going to curate like what I feel like is appropriate and what's not appropriate. So feel free to give your 2 cents in the chat, and we'll kind of go from there. So we'll jump right into it. So we got BD waiting and Harris waiting. So we're going to bring them 2 in and start. So can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Nice. Okay. And Harris, I got you. Come on, Harris, you're a broadcast guy, man. I mean, God bless.
This is appropriate. The broadcast guy you can't hear.
Like the guy already, right? That's why. All right, there you go. All right, cool. Well, hey, listen, first of all, I appreciate both you guys for taking the time. You know, like I told everyone, that was the first time I seen that video in the beginning. And like, even me, I was like, damn, man, that's kind of hitting the heart. I might have to take another 10 minutes real quick before I start this thing up. Cause that was definitely, emotional to say the least. So, chat, if you guys don't know, which most of you guys do know, I got Brendan Donohue with me, marketing director of the 2K League from start to season ToXsiK, a close friend of mine, really a mentor of mine in the space, who's really helped me progress from player to staff of the 2K League to now working with EA Sports. So like, a lot of credit to BD and what he's been opened up for me and opportunities up for me. And then obviously Harris as well, huge part of the broadcast team, huge voice of the 2K League. So no two other faces that I would want to be a part of this episode outside of these two guys. I'm sure there's plenty of you guys in the chat who are like, man, I didn't get invited. I should have been invited, which listen, we appreciate all your guys' voices. And if I did all you guys, we'd be here all day. So yeah, guys, listen, I appreciate you guys coming on to talk. BD, real quick, if you want to give like an update on the life of BD lately, what's been going on with BD? I see we got the 2K League gear though. We're showing out. I respect that. I respect that. If you want to give an update, yeah, I respect that. If you want to give an update on BD,
I always still wear my 2K League gear.
Hey, listen, I got bags full of 2K League gear. So if anyone wants some 2K League gear,
more than I did. That's why.
Hey, listen, allegedly, I'll never claim any of that. But yeah, BD, if you want to give like an update on yourself, we're gonna leave all Florida State discussions, Boston College beating Florida State discussions out of that.
I don't know. Do we want to open up with that? I don't know.
No, we don't. But yeah, BD, go ahead.
No, man. It's first of all, I appreciate the invite. It's been a blast. So, Tox, I'm curious. What was your part of that video that got you choked up and all kind of emotional?
I mean, honestly, BD, like I didn't even know it was gonna be like that. I knew there was gonna be a video. I didn't know into what detail it was gonna be. It's just like going back and like just seeing even season 1. It's like, damn it, like it was really 7-8 years ago. Like, and I look at that video and I'm like, I remember it detail by detail, every single moment in that video. Like, I remember seeing those games in person and being in that studio and like seeing the faces and like even like the T Fresh clip. I remember exactly like being in my living room waiting for my name to be called and like just the emotions of like what my expectations were going into the league in season 1 and not really understanding like what it was going to be. And I'll be real, like I didn't even want to like get on a plane to go to Cleveland season 1. Like I was like, oh, like, I want to live in Florida. Like I didn't even know what I wanted to do. And like to now fast forward 7-8 years later and to see everywhere I've gone, everyone I've met, everything I've learned, and to be where I'm at now really because of the opportunity. Like I think that's what chokes me up the most. And like I think so many people don't realize that like it's not even about like playing the game. Like that was the cool part. Obviously, like we play a game we love, but like I met so many people that like I feel like I'll talk to forever, and like relationships and places and just experiences like that to me was like the most special. So I think like seeing that clip just brought all that back at once, and it was just like overwhelming.
Yeah, I felt a lot of the same way. I forgot about the T Fresh one was funny. That was a good moment. But that created the initial press conference with Adam and Strauss. I mean, there must have been 100 media people there just for that first draft. I mean, we had a lot of eyeballs on us, and it was pretty wild to that opening day. And then also, for me, the studio brings back that first season, and and Harris knows, and a lot of other players would know. Like my favorite part of being in the studio was I would sit and watch games, and I would connect with someone who was there from who flew in from Portland or Sacramento or Miami, what have you. Like, and that's what I first got to know. That original 102, I got to know them so well personally because I had conversations for a half hour here and there, every single week. And that to me was special. That's kind of what started off, I think, on a good foot of like, I always felt like I connected well with the players and kind of what was important to them because, we talked all the time. It was a family. We were growing together.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I think that's where me and you kicked it off was in those stands. You know what I mean? Watching a game, like we kicked it off, and we got Bear jumping in now too, so we can all comment on things. Like Harris, like feel free to answer the question as well. Like for you, what like where did it hit you?
So I wasn't there in season 1, so seeing a lot of those memories, I've seen those clips hundreds and hundreds of times. Editing stuff over the years. For me, it's seeing the Knicks get their rings. To open up season.
That one
2.
hurts a little bit. I'll be honest.
That was one of the first days of like work for me. I don't know if people know like this totally. I started work April 1st, 2019 with the NBA 2K League, which was the first day of season 2. I had no lead up time. Like the first day of my hired job with the NBA was the first day of the season. So that first whole week was just such a blur. And then all of a sudden, I have Idris, I have a pretty famous photo of him like showing the ring off. And that's the first time I kind of realized like what this was. He was showing off a full like NBA champion level ring. Like it was huge. I've never seen like an esports team get given a ring like that. And I'll never forget it. That was kind of when it hit me like, oh, this is for real. Like this is a real thing. Cause I didn't really know too much about the league when I got hired. I was kind of freaking out about it on my first day. Like I didn't really know anything about it. I just kind of was thrown into it. So yeah, it really grounds you seeing, somebody get that much money and get a prize like that just for winning an esports tournament. And obviously looking back on it, geez, it's been almost 5 years, 6 years. I would kind of laugh at myself about how little I knew then and what it would be now, of course.
Yeah, no, it is crazy to look back and see. And Bear, I don't know if you saw like the intro video we had. So like it was just like a recap of basically like OG days, man. Season 1 leading up to everything that we me and you especially have been through as players, and obviously you can speak on it winning a championship. Like for you, like how was it for you in the beginning of the league? Like I know obviously we'll touch on like season 1 and Bear not being in season 1, which obviously a lot of people were surprised, and then coming in season 2, like you can speak to it directly, like going through like the grit and grind of a season and like winning a ring, and like at the end of the day, like we talked about it, me and BD mentioned like the playing the game was the cool part, right? Like that was something that was normal to us, I guess, in a sense. Everything else was to me at least abnormal, right? Like all the people I met, like going to the teams I was on, and like and being like feeling like an NBA player, and like meeting the GMs and meeting all these people and the facilities I had and the resources I had, like all these different things. Like for you, like how was it going from BearDaBeast in your bedroom to then drafted BearDaBeast to Minnesota to like BearDaBeast championship winner first season? Like how was all that whole experience for you?
What's up, fellas? Y'all can hear me good, right? We good? Y'all can hear me?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Perfect. BD, what's up with you, baby? How you doing?
What's up, man? Hey, we got to talk about that white suit from the original draft.
Yes.
Man, yeah, that's a loaded question, Tox, man. That's a dang, man. I hope y'all been good, though. I hope everybody's been good. It's good to see y'all. But I could talk 20, 30, 40 minutes on that question, so I'll try to sum it up. But like you say, man, going in, you don't know going into it what type of machine is behind it. So you don't know any of that. Like you say, you're at the house, you're playing the game, you just with the guys, and then you go into, they just put you into this place to where it's so many different people, it's so many different connections. You start to meet people who you've always valued your whole life or put on a pedestal. It's kind of surreal. So for me, coming in from a small town to being like BD say, you put on this suit to go get drafted, and it's like, it was funny because people was trying to clown it. People were like, "Yo, like, oh, these guys think they're really going to the NBA," and people like, bro, there was nothing you could have said to me that'd knock me off that horse. Like I was good money. Like mentally, I've made it. I've arrived, and it's so one of the biggest things for me, like when you say we looking back at that season 1, the clips, like I seen Nate in the clip, and I'm like, yo, that's the babyface Nate. That's the guy from Island Gang that I grew up playing 2K with. And I'm doing a lot of editing now, and I'm like, I go back and I look at the clips, and I'm like, yo, that season 1, 2, 3, a little into 4, that fire that people had during those seasons and how passionate they were was. And I look at myself and I'm like, yo, that was different. Like I was in a different mode. Like I was in mentally, I was 150% all in. But as far as the overall experience, I'm telling you, I could talk an hour on this. It was great, man. I have no complaints from going to stand my whole career in Minnesota to now. I have zero complaints out of all the people I met, all the connection from you guys to the players, to the NBA guys, to the content creators, man. It was a dope ride.
Yeah, it's funny because like me and you probably have like polar opposite career paths in the 2K league. Like Bear goes high in the draft, stays one place for his whole career. I go mid-level and I go on a different team every single year for my whole career. So two different spectrums. And I'll say from a player's perspective, I think like you said, and you made a good point, Bear, like the fire, like in season 1, season 2, season 3, it was a little different. Like I know season 4 was my last year, and probably could have played season 5 if I really wanted to. But like even going into season 4, I was kind of like, all right, like another season, like let me get prepared and like this and that. But like going into season 1, it was like I don't know what to expect. I just want to go do good and win as much money as I can. And then I think season 2 for me was like the season where it was like, okay, now I have real expectations, right? Like I came in as a sharp. We don't got to get technical on ToXsiK sharp stats. It wasn't great.
I mean, we can if you want to.
We actually, yeah.
No,
yeah, I know
sure?
you do.
You sure about that?
I know you do. So we won't get into that. But what I'll say is like, that team, at least in Cleveland, is where I learned even more how to become a leader, because I knew like I had such good guys around me with Hood and Sick that like I didn't need to be the guy. Like, yeah, sure, my stats weren't great. Sure, I could have made a shot here and there. We won't talk about in BD, like it was impossible to green. So thanks for making my stats look as bad as they did. But like I knew the guys I had, as long as I had their headspace right, we could go far. And like we ended up going far. And I look back on that season and like we honestly choked against the Knicks and probably should have been in the finals against the Heat. But that is what it is. But that's where I really learned like how to become a leader and what to really expect going into the league. Now, fast forward to season 2, it was now like, okay, I want to put myself in a position where like I'm not the guy spotting up waiting just to get the ball anymore. Like I want to make an impact. So that's why I switched to lockdown. And then for now, season 2, I had the expectations, right? I knew, okay, what's it like going into a team? What's it like being with new guys? What's it like living with guys? What's the practice schedule like? What's it like traveling for game day? What's it like playing on the stage? Like I knew all these things going into season 2. And that's where like I feel like the fire like really, really started. And then I think season 2 also, like Bear, I'm sure you can agree to this. Like we started getting in some of those guys that were quote unquote snubs, right? Like you didn't have Bear season 1. So like you got Bear in season 2. Like you got some of those faces in combined with some of the OG faces from season 1. And I feel like that's where like it really started to become like, this is the real competition. And like now it's like real credibility to who's going to win. So again, we could talk on that for hours all day long, but we'll start from like the beginning of the timeline and we'll kind of go through. And then guys, feel free, like Bear, if you have a question, or like Harris, you have a topic, or even BD, like it's kind of like a free for all, spit how you want. I don't want it to be like an interview type style. So feel free. But like BD, first for you, I just want to ask, like, obviously you've been with the NBA for a long time. You were part of the NBA. I don't want to misjudge here, but like what, 20 plus years, 25 years?
Yeah, my whole career.
Okay, so your whole career. So curious on your end.
After I graduated college, I went to work for the Pistons, and I was there 6 years. I went to the Bucks, then New Orleans Hornets, and then the Atlanta Hawks, and then went to the NBA office in 2009. So then I was 27 years in the NBA family.
Yeah, so that's where the question for me is, like, throughout your career, one, did you ever imagine taking a job like you did with the 2K League? And then 2, like, how did that whole idea even come about and like fall onto your lap?
Yeah, so what ended up happening was, so at the time, I actually went out to talk to Overwatch. So I went out to California to meet with Overwatch about running the Overwatch League. And so, and when I went out there, it just felt too far outside of sports for me. I wasn't a hardcore gamer. Like I liked gaming, but like I wasn't hardcore. So like it just felt a little bit outside my expertise. Frankly, I think they could have done better. And as far as finding somebody, and so, but I came back, and at the time I told my boss that I was talking to them, and I said I was going to pass on it. And then like 2 months later, Adam was announced in the 2K League, and they were like, well, "What about this?" And I'm like, "I'm all in." Like to me, it was the idea of like launching a startup. I love hoops. I love 2K. It was to me, it was a perfect marriage.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never knew that you had even thought about Overwatch or looked at Overwatch at all. So like, I guess a follow-up question to that is like, where was that switch for you, I guess, to like even think about esports in general? Like, what made you even go to Overwatch or to go talk to them and even like search that down that avenue?
Tox, can I
Yeah,
add an extra?
don't get me wrong.
Well,
Yeah,
one
let's go.
extra layer. BD, what even made you qualified to be a commissioner? Like, what? how did you get Overwatch and the NBA 2K League to both like court you to be the commissioner? Like, what? How did that even happen?
So my job when I was at the NBA was I would go to teams every single week. I usually go on a Monday night or a Tuesday morning. I'd fly to one of our teams, and I was helping them with their business operations. So I got to know, and I would go see different teams every week, and then eventually I was kind of the number 2 person in that group, overseeing the group that was on the road, helping all the teams across the NBA, G League, and WNBA. And so. So yeah, I got to know a lot of people. I got a good reputation because I was working hard and trying to do good work, and I was handling a lot of topics. We had like 8 different workshops we led with all the teams, where we had a team president's workshop, we have a sponsorship workshop, ticket sales workshop, what have you. And so I just got to know a lot of people, and then I guess reputationally, like I was at a point where I probably was going to do. I was looking at like NBA president jobs, things like that. And so the 2K League came along, and the idea of launching a startup inside the NBA offices, like, and esports, you got to remember, esports at that point was hot. I mean, everybody wanted everyone was throwing money at it. It was just like the hottest thing going. And so, I mean, to me, it was a no-brainer. It was just like, I mean, the whole idea of it, like, and so when Adam came, and plus Adam Silver comes and says, hey, you want to do this? Like, that's a pretty hard thing to say no to.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I remember it's funny, like that gives me a memory, like one of my first days in the office, BD, I had that phone at my desk, like the office phone, and it would ring, and Lindsay would always look at me like, don't ever pick that phone up. And I was like, listen, Adam Silver calls, I'm picking that thing up. All right, I'm picking that phone up and I'm running with it. So that's funny. That brings back memories. And so yeah, like on that, I remember Bear, you can speak on this as well. Like I remember playing Pro-Am and even like Park and like 2K17 is where I first started streaming and like really diving into content. And I remember hearing these rumblings of there's going to be a 2K League. And I was like, all right, like, what is that? And like, you hear about like the NBA's involved and they're starting up their own esports league. And for me, it was so out of the ordinary because coming from Halo and like the whole process of Halo with Major League Gaming, like you never had really seen an organization like the NBA get involved in esports. So I remember at the time thinking to myself, like, yeah, that's probably just a rumor. That's nothing. That's not going to really go anywhere. And as it got deeper and deeper, I remember my viewers always telling me like, hey, the combine's coming up and you should give it a try and, just do it. And I was like, all right, you know what? Like, I'll do it for content is what I told everyone. I'm going to do it for content. And I remember one day walking out to my dad in the living room and saying to him, word for word, I said, hey, Dad, the NBA is starting up this 2K League thing. I'm in college at the time. I'm playing basketball down in Miami. I remember telling my dad, like, there's this 2K League and I'm going to try out in the combine, but I'm not going to go for it. Like, I'm just doing it for content. I mean, that's the excuse as a streamer. What do you do it for content? So, yeah, like fast forward the combine, the whole experience of the combine in person, or not in person, but in the game at least, like for the first season and that whole experience, which was a lot of highs and a lot of lows, which Barry, I'm sure you know. And then getting that call, like, was like, wait a second. Like, this is a real thing. Like, this guy's calling me from New York City, like telling me from the NBA office that I made the draft. I'm like,
who called you?
I think it was Daniel. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. I think it was Daniel.
So I'll tell you a cool backstory is everyone was working so hard at like launching the league that we allowed everybody on the staff to call certain people to tell them they made the league. And so it was actually kind of one of the rewards of like just all those, working from 8 a.m. till midnight. In some cases, you were lucky to catch the last train out of Grand Central because you were there at 1 a.m. before the draft. And so we actually let everybody call, like every single person called, a couple of people to tell them they made it.
Yeah, I remember actually I was asleep and I missed the phone call and I got a bunch of text messages like, yo, did you get the call? Did you? Because I mean, Bear, you probably remember. Everyone was like, yo, did you get the email? Yo, did you get the call? Like, yo, are you in the one? Or did you make the top 200? Like, did you make the first cut? Are you in the second cut? I remember that like vividly. Everyone was posting it on Twitter, like, yo, I made top 250. I remember it vividly. And so I remember being asleep and having a missed phone call from some number. And my buddy Perfusion at the time, who played for the Celtics, later on, texted me, yo, did you get the call? And I was like, well, I got a missed call. And so I called back and no one answered. And I left a voicemail. I was like, hey, I don't know if this is the 2K league, but if this is, like, I am interested. So give me a call back. And I remember getting a call back like an hour later. And I'm pretty sure it was Daniel just telling me like, yo, congratulations, making the league and, the draft. And even then I was still like, the draft, like, what does he mean, the draft? Like, I'm going to be drafted. I got to go through interviews. I got to go through all these things. Like, it was still so crazy to me. And, Bear, I'm interested on your take on this. Like, backtrack to 2K17. Like, well, we're like, we're just playing pro-am. Like, we're just playing the game, and you hear about this news, and like, what was like the overall emotion for you and like the outlook of the 2K league? Like, at first, for me at least, I was like, I don't know if this is a real thing. I don't know if I'm gonna go for it. Or like for you, was it like right when you heard it, it was like, okay, this is what I'm gonna do, and like I'm gonna dominate it.
No, I was the same way, man. That's dope that you actually can go to your pops and tell your pops like, like, yo, like, hey, I'm about to do this, whatever. I ain't really going for it. Like, I got a really good relationship with my pops, but it's nowhere in no world would I tell him like, yo, it's this chance for this video game opportunity, and I'm going for it. Because at the time, I played 16 and I played 17, but when I was playing 16, it was just park. So we would load up, we were hooping the park, but I'm hooping with my homies. And these dudes, like, I would gamble and bet people in the neighborhood, and I could beat people within my city. But like, when you talk about the world, that's a different monster. And from me playing ball all the time growing up and going to college, I knew that, all right, cool, I could be better than people in my city. But once you start talking about going to different states, when you start talking about the world, these people are talented. So in my head, it was just like, it sounds like a crazy opportunity. No way I would be a part of it. Like, I know I'm pretty good at 2K, but man, I know like there's some cheesers out there, bro. I wasn't one of the dribblers. I wasn't one of those. No, I wasn't close to any of that. So in my head, there was no way to make it. And then the tournament for 16 came around, and we didn't even compete in the tournament. Like I'm telling you, man, we was in Sunset Park every day, me and the guys.
Yes, sir. Me too.
They compete for 250,000, and me and my homies are in Sunset. So then we just so happened to dibble and dab in the pro-am because it was a 5v5 mode, and I'm like, I'm coming in as a shooting guard because I'm like, I just want to score. And then I figure out the mechanics of it, like, hey, the point guard got the ball all the time. I'm the best with all my friends, and then we start to get in that circuit of 17 of like hop in the pro-am and start to play these guys a little and start to see the bigger names more. And I really didn't think I had a chance to make it until it was like Road to the All-Star game, and we went on a run with Road to Legends. Before that, I had zero like faith in making a 2K league. The only thing I was thinking about was 250,000. Let's take a crack at it.
Yep.
And when we like technically came in fourth, I'm like, oh shoot, bro, like I ain't as bad as what I thought. Like, I actually can compete with these guys. And I'm telling my cousins and my brothers, like, I'm doing it with the Pooh Butts. I'm doing it with y'all. Like, I'm about to go hoop with Nate Call and Slay Island, the guys that my cousins and them and my brother, they were actually pretty good. But Nate and Slay are playing the game, 60 hours a week. So I'm like, I got to go take this opportunity. But up until that, I had zero like faith in making it. So I kind of didn't tell anybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, in Harris, I'll get your take on it too. For me, it was kind of the same. Bear, like, I was like the park guy. Like, that's what I was known for. Like, we started eyeball in 2K17. So like, when the eyeball like name started getting in pro-am, it was like me, Perfusion. We had a kid named Jordan who played point guard who was pretty good. Everyone was like, oh, these are like, you know how it is. Like, there's the pro-am side, there's the park side. It was like, oh, these are all the park kids. These are the park kids. We can't lose to the park kids, right? And so for us, like, that's how it was. And I don't think at the time had really any idea of going for the 2K league, but we started to get involved in like MPBA back then in 2K17. I remember MPBA vividly, like was my first real Pro-Am tournament. We had an eyeball team with me, Perfusion, Jordan, and some other guys. And we ended up making a finals. And we ended up beating like Still Trill. We ended up beating like Good Life at the time. I think it was Good Life. I had like Hood, Goofy, like, and these are guys I didn't really know like what they had accomplished or anything like that. I knew Still Trill because of obviously like some of the bigger names at that time in Pro-Am. I knew the Space Jams. I knew the guys like that. And we ended up going and beating Good Life, Still Trill, and then losing in the finals to Fab's team. So it was like Fab, Mama, Compete. I think they had like Walnut. Yeah, and at the time then I'm like, I don't know who all these guys are. And then I get to the league, I'm like, well, shit, like the odds are stacked against me in that one. So you know, I think that's what, like, again, same for you, as like got me on that radar of like, okay, like maybe I'm not just the park kid. Like, yeah, that's where I'm known, but I take my knowledge from real life basketball. I've always been good at playing video games. I played Halo professionally. I played other games at a high level. Like, why can't I do it with this if I apply all those things? And I think for me, like, it was the same for you. Like, I once I saw we placed high, I was like, okay, like, I think I have a shot at this. And like, I went and did the combine, and we'll touch on that in a minute. But like, the combine itself was a free for all. Hopefully you get a good teammate, which I honestly, BD, like, made it fun. Cause I will say, like, later down the road as a player, when I got into like season 4 and season 3 combine, like being placed on like teams with good players was almost like there was more ego involved, and there was more like, I don't know. Whereas like season 1, it was like that excitement of like when you click the load in, like, God, give me a good PG. Just give me a good PG. Please give me a good PG. Give me someone who talks on the mic. Just give me someone who talks on the mic. And like, that was kind of exciting in its own right. Right. So, yeah, like Harris, same with you. Like, when did you first hear about the league? Like, what was your thought about the league? Obviously, you said you really had no background in esports or 2K. So curious on your end, like, how did it all come about for you?
Oh, my process of getting into the league is a very boring corporate back and forth of applying for hundreds of jobs, getting 4 callbacks, worked with this wonderful HR lady named Rachel, who I learned ended up hiring like half of the 2K league. So yeah, it was very classic. You know, at the time I had just come off of working my first job out of college. I was a professional broadcaster producer for this small company out of Dallas called Chat Sports. You know, I wanted to be a professional sportscaster. I wanted to, you know, work, you know, as a, you know, just in sports media. And, you know, when I left that job, left that job for a whole host of reasons I don't need to get into, but I'd never really heard about the 2K League. I remember when they announced it, because when it got announced, it was really interesting. And I remember I brought it up to the people in my office, and I was like, oh, this looks really cool. Everybody in my office thought it was super lame. And I was the only person, because I was really the only gamer that we had. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. It's like a professional virtual basketball league. And they thought it was dumb. And then we never talked about it again until obviously I started going through the hiring process, and I had to learn a lot in a very short period of time. But I remember walking in my first day, I kind of mentioned it originally, that I had kind of like a minor panic attack the night before, because I thought that I kind of needed to know everything on day one. So I'm researching names, I'm trying to figure out like all this stuff, and it's just too much for any one person to grasp.
Yeah.
But I will say the one person that probably saved my bacon more than anybody else was Josiah Cohen. I remember walking in one of my first days on the job, and I just see this very short kid with glasses and a yarmulke on, just kind of following people around, watching people. He had a notepad at the time. And remember, I'm a social guy, so like I have to talk to anybody everywhere. I'm like, who is this dude? So I ended up, you know, sitting down with him. We talked. He showed me the ropes, like told me everything, like pointing out people, who everybody was, and learning everybody's name. So, you know, that was, man, I was 23 years old when I got hired. You know, I moved to Hoboken, New Jersey early, and I actually had to stay in an Airbnb by myself for 2 whole months while my wife tried to find us an apartment on very low income in Hoboken, which, yeah, as you know, Tox, that is not a cheap place to live. So, yeah, you know, again, my hiring process was super corporate, but, you know, the one thing that I did know, you know me, Tox, I'm a pretty ambitious guy. You know, I love my career. I love what I do. I'm a really lucky dude. My first day when I walked in, I'll never forget just walking into that studio for the first time and just feeling this rush of opportunity. Like I saw it immediately. I saw exactly what this league was trying to do right away. And I was hooked from the beginning. I wanted to be a part of it. And I'll never forget also my second week on the job, I go up to Matt Arden, our head of content, the first time I think I ever met him, and told him, like, hey, one day you should put me through an air test to see if I can broadcast. He had no clue who I was. That was maybe our second conversation ever. And yeah, didn't obviously come back around to it until COVID. But yeah, I was just a kid back then. You know, I'm almost 30 now. So thinking about who I was when I met BD for the first time versus the man I am today is yeah, it's a stark difference. Also, shout out to the back row crew, man. It was me, it was Jeff from San Antonio News, who always covered our league.
Oh
yeah, the back row crew, Josiah, myself, Chris Cook. Yeah, he was the man.
But Tox, I think the thing that, and I think Harris isn't giving himself enough credit, is like that was the cool reason to work for the 2K League was, and we would even say that in recruiting. It's like you can work at the NBA and you're like one piece of a really big machine. Like at the 2K League, like Harris was the social guy, and because he worked his tail off and became like an expert, knew the players, knew the stats when like our stats was so mechanical and it wasn't very good, and he made the stats like come to life, and he ended up becoming a voice on air. Like it's unbelievable. And like you see like all the people, he said Josiah got himself a job at the Warriors, like, you know, Nick was a child. Nick was a child hanging out of the studio.
Yeah, I remember.
14. And he ended up, you know, getting a job and eventually coaching. And to me, that was the beauty of that whole scene in the studio. Was like, if you wanted it, like, just grab your territory. It was a free for all. It was like, you know, it was awesome.
Yeah,
I will say that. Sorry, Tox. One, not to turn this too negative, but I want to just touch on what BD said for a second. Like that is one of the reasons why I think how the 2K League closed has been so emotional for people, because I don't think people outside of the league really understood like the level of opportunity that this was like providing for people. Like not even just as like a player, like staff people, production people, game admins, like everybody, hundreds and hundreds of people getting viable big time production and esports experience off of this league. And I think one of the things that kind of makes me like the most sad thinking about kind of what the preliminary ideas of the league are supposed to be is that it's kind of going, or that they want to retarget it towards people who already have plentiful amounts of opportunity wherever they look, right? You know, they're talking about influencers, NBA and NBA players, and it's like, man, these people are getting so much stuff funneled to them already that you're kind of taking away like what really like drove the league was the amount of people who were hungry. Like the first couple years of the league, the hunger that were in the players and the employees to make the most out of it, not even just for the league, but selfishly for themselves, was beautiful. I mean, everybody was trying to get a slice of anything they could. We made a damn segment for Phil on camera where he ate, and now look at where like Phil is, man. Like there's so many unbelievable success stories that started from nothing. I mean, again, I'm very biased towards the broadcast team. Like, dude, take Jeff Eisenband. He's now one of the top sports and digital golf broadcasting. Like, he started off as a sideline reporter doing, you know, ENG interviews post game. Like, there's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of stories that this league has been able to give us. Like, you know, I don't know where I'd be in life without it. So it's one of those things where I think that's going to be the part that I miss the most. Like, who's going to get those, like, who gives out those kinds of opportunities anymore in 2024? It's hard to find. You know, you really have to make them for yourself nowadays. So, yeah, just a solemn part of all of this, I think.
Hey, Tox, the other thing I'd say out of season one that I don't think we even knew what happened was, so we get all these best players in the world, you know, and you could argue if they were the best players in the world, whatever. Like, we got a bunch of great players from around the world. And so the character in the story we didn't know was going to become a character was the stage. Like, that was the thing that we didn't, and frankly, that's when Bayer came in season 2, and it was built for him. Like, it was like that whole scene was built for him. So, like, I just think like that was a part of the whole experience we didn't realize was going to become this significant piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, it's crazy to look back on and like see some of the people that I've met throughout my time at the league as a player that have gone on to do other things. And like you mentioned, like, you know, Jeff and these other and Phil, and I forgot her name. There, we had the sideline reporter too, like season 2, she was a short, like Italian. She's on a show on
Kaiba.
Netflix. She's on that show on Netflix.
Yeah, she's big into like cards now,
too.
like card dealing, card selling and stuff. Yeah.
She was in the match. Yeah, she was all over.
Yeah, so I mean, it was crazy to see the opportunity, like you said, that came about it. And Bear, go ahead.
The people that y'all speak about though are like, so from a player's aspect, like from player side of it, the people who y'all speaking of, I feel like they worked their tails off. These were people who are seen day in, day out grinding. So I think everybody on this panel can we know what work looks like, and just seeing my peers from players like when Harris said he walked in and the only thing he could see was opportunity, even at a young age. So when I walked in, I was a little older, I had already graduated college, and only I'm like, yo, it's not just 5-6 guys and like on a team. It's you got coaches and social media managers. You get to see the machine behind the NBA players.
Hello?
All right, chat. I don't know what happened. Technical difficulties. You know how this stuff can be sometimes. So we'll get everyone back in. We'll pick back up. So sorry about that. Give me 1 second as we drag everyone back in. I think I'm frozen.
We live?
Wait, I'm good. Are we good? Cool. All right. Yeah, I think we're good, Harris. I think they just have to join. Wait, can you hear me, Harris?
I think you and I are the only ones who survived. I can. Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell BD. I'm gonna tell them to like leave and rejoin. Sorry, chat. You know how it goes sometimes, man. Trying to connect everyone across the world.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task.
Got any spicy topics while we wait for them to come back? Toss me a spicy topic.
Oh man. I mean, are we talking like a 2K League spicy topic, or are we just talking a life spicy topic?
Whatever you want. This is filling dead air podcast time. So I'm challenging you. You spend enough time on the 2K League broadcast that this is your moment. Oh, there you go. There you go. You're off the hook. We have BD now. Hi, BD.
All right. No, I'm good now.
I think so.
Can you hear me?
All right, man. I don't know. So, yeah, you're good, BD.
I can hear y'all. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Who created that video?
That might be Mar.
Wow, that's good. That was good work.
Mar is a beast. If that was Mar,
he's crazy talented. Crazy talented.
No, it's the three of us. Hi guys. We've abducted the podcast from Tox.
Exactly. This is our plan all along.
Or what?
Here, while we're waiting for come back, BD, what have you been up to? Like, what have you been doing for the past, like, I don't know, 9 months since you stopped being the commissioner of the 2K League? What have you been doing?
Yeah, so I mean, number one, like taking a few minutes to breathe after like it was a pretty hard run for a while.
How dare you? No vacations.
So I took some time. I enjoyed Carter's senior year of high school a little bit, and then and I don't know if you guys remember the CEO of the Sixers and Devils, Scott O'Neill. He came on our broadcast in season 1 or 2.
He works with Blitzer, right? Blitzer Sports. Is that
he
them?
was the CEO of the Sixers. Yeah. He went and took a job. He runs a company called Merlin Entertainment, and they're like the notch below Disney in like the attraction space. They own Legoland. They own they're like at the Six Flags over in Europe. And so he called me up when I announced and said, "Hey, while you're looking for something, like come help me. I need your help with something." And so I've been consulting for him, since February. And while I look for kind of what I want to do next, and it's tricky, man. I'm tempted, like, do I go back to a team? Do I go to another startup in sports? I've been looking and trying to figure out what's going to get me inspired again. And it's tough. The 2K League set a high bar.
Am I
in a perfect world? What would you want to do? Are you? We can hear you.
All right, cool. All right, go ahead. Let BD have the shine right here.
Yeah, what would be your perfect next job? Like if you really had to choose it right now, what would be like the number one thing you want to do?
I don't know. I don't know if there is a perfect. I honestly, my whole criteria is I want to be inspired and I want to make an impact. That's it. To me, that does it for me. So like that's my criteria, and it might be something. It might be at a team. It might be at a startup league. It might be at another sports property. But like, I'm not worried about it. I want to find, and you guys know this as well as anybody from like dealing with coaches and organizations. Like, I want to find the right who, like the right who to work with and work for. Like that's so important. So that's a big part of what I'm looking for.
You're president of the Jets, or what?
What's that?
Said president of the Jets.
Man, that might be too emotionally close. I don't know if my brain can handle that one.
Nah, for sure.
You kill it. You lead them back to glory.
Sorry about the hiccup, but so we'll pick up real quick. I know we've been chatting for a little while, but so BD, quick question for you. Like, to you, what was the biggest challenges in the beginning, starting up, and then as we progressed? Like, what was the biggest challenges for you in the league from season 1 to season 3 moving forward?
I think the biggest challenge was there was literally no playbook, and we had 6 people like working full time on it. I mean, it was me, TJ, Aaron Ryan at the time. We had a social person in Francis, and we had help around the league, the NBA help. But like, I mean, you guys remember better than anybody, like the whole controversy around the combine and like that it was somehow rigged. I'm like, I don't know dimes from T-Fresh. I rigged. Like, why? How would I rig it for? I don't even know. And people were like freaking out that we were doing something shady, and it was the most honest system we possibly could create. And it became a whole story, and that was so stressful and so like out of our hands.
Wait, all right, it's BD this time.
Twisted.
All right, cool. All right, we're good. I thought you froze, but you're good. So we heard you though. So yeah, it's funny. Like, I have a newfound respect, or I had a newfound respect when I became an employee of the league, because you see how much goes on behind the scenes for like to make our dream job a reality. And you see that like I remember like being with Ivan and like Lindsay on marketing, and Ivan's like, yeah, man, if you worked at like another big company, there'd be like 20 or 30 of you on the marketing team. He's like, unfortunately, brother, it's me and you. I was like, all right, well, let's buckle up then. Let's get to it. So like, it's funny to see like how much responsibility so many people had. I think one thing that I appreciated so much was that I was able to have a hand in a lot of different things. Like, yeah, I was part of marketing and I was marketing coordinator, but like I can help with league ops and I can help with social and I can help on broadcast and I can help in here and there. And like you go to like some of these other bigger companies and like now I'm with EA Sports, it's like you're kind of confined to what you are and where you are in that space. And it was nice to have that flexibility and feel like you had an impact in a lot of different places. And I think that was which was really cool for me with the 2K League. Question I had for you, BD, on the league from the beginning was like, I know we got the PA agreement done later on, but before the league started, and this is something I always thought about, and I never had the time to really like ask you, why don't we feel like stuff like that wasn't a higher priority in the beginning if we knew it had so much, it could bring so much impact and so much eyes at a time where like people were probably looking at the league as like, what is this new startup? And, esports is hot. And like, because to me, as big of a accomplishment it was to get it when we got it, it was still a little bit of a miss that we didn't get it earlier on. And like, on top of that, I also feel like, why don't you feel like there was more integration within 2K from the beginning as well? Because like coming from other games, Halo, COD, like those games, like they have complete integration damn near on the game. And like to me, like that's the number one marketing tool. So curious of your opinion or to give us some transparency there of like, why don't we feel like stuff like that was being able to be implemented earlier on in like the stages of the league?
Yeah, so I mean, it was tricky because you had like on the NBA, you have the NBA and the teams, and then you have the players, and they both roughly control. They both get 50% of the business, right? And so like it's just the whole goal is to make the pie grow bigger and everybody wins. So in the 2K league, we had the NBA, we had 2K, so you already had 50% owners, and then we also had our own players. So like it was just it wasn't cut and dry. It wasn't an easy way to like, and plus there was also this notion of like esports, like this could be a thing on its own. We're not totally sure how much we need NBA players and how much that would really add to the mix out of the gates. We had to first test it and see kind of where would this go on its own. Like, and so I think that was the initial thought. And then as time went on, like I agree, like we definitely. It's a shame that we didn't get the PA deal done till like I was almost leaving, and so it was and considering how hard we worked on it. And I will say 2K. The other thing you got to remember is like Chen and the guys who developed the game, they had full-time jobs and they were already working crazy hard. And then all of a sudden, like we came to them and said, and we're like, hey, you got to create a whole new version of the game for these players who were incredible. And so it was a lot of like getting their time and like their mind share to like focus on the league. And I think in the later stages as we went along, and by the way, going back to your example of like, hey, if I could just pick up something and do it and I can make an impact and see it right away, like you and Mar just basically creating the 2K League store and the items and like that thing coming to life like overnight, like that was the kind of things I just wish we had more time to like plant those seeds and let that develop a little bit, because there was something there was a there in my opinion.
BD, I got a question, Tox. BD, when it comes to like you're working with 2K to try to get some of this stuff done, like was it just too much work on their end? Like I guess the part that's always confused me is like, why weren't they the ones who were like, hey, we should do this, and this? It always seemed like we'd go to them with stuff and we'd either get a no or an and then we just move on to like the next game day. Cause like, obviously, it's crazy busy during the season, but it's like why was there so many barriers to like what they wanted? Like, what did they want out of all this?
In fairness, I pushed back on that a little bit. Cause like, for example, like no other esport had a combine in the game. I mean, that was pretty amazing that like they developed the combine, they developed the whole league build. I mean, they were kind of more choosing the big projects they were gonna implement into the league. And so like I think we were just choosing kind of how to utilize that resource, right? And so I do think the fact that we had 72,000 people try out the first year, like that was an incredible story. And listen, and we could argue I agree with you. It was tough to try to figure out how to make it the best experience for the top players. Like I totally agree, that was the matchmaking piece was challenging. And then we had a whole analytics company doing all the analytics and like trying to determine how do we weight it. But it was nuts. But I think that I do think they wanted it to succeed, and I think and I will tell you, like they were definitely big contributors. Every time we needed anything in terms of like we needed investment on something, they were there. They jumped out. We wanted to go to Vegas and we wanted to go to Orlando. Just go do it. Like we support you guys. Like even when COVID hit, the fact that there was they easily could have said, hey, we're shutting down the league for this year with COVID, and we figured out a way to make it work, and they supported us, and frankly we ended up on ESPN, which was nuts. But yeah, it was. They were always support, and we frankly I don't think we get enough credit to the team and the leagues and all of us, like how much we tried to tweak things to like keep interest, like adding 3v3, adding a tryout in Europe and APAC, and and the prize money kept going up, and doing remote games and some live games, and I don't know. I think there was a lot of stuff that did get kind of tweaked and added to kind of create interest. I don't think we got to the finish line necessarily.
To not go too far on this topic, but as a player, BD, I feel like as a player, I feel like there's only a handful of us that actually tried and gave a dang. But I did feel like y'all tried to reinvent the wheel and tweak it to get the interest. As a player, that same thing I was talking about earlier, that walked in the way Harris said he walked in and seen opportunity. I feel like y'all tried, and I feel like it was so many different ways, so many different avenues that y'all gave us. And I just feel like as players, we didn't take full advantage. Now, I'm not saying y'all did everything right or y'all did everything wrong, but as a player, I feel like what you're saying is like, as a player, I feel that. I feel like y'all gave us all the opportunity in the world.
Yeah, but I think that was somewhat a function of like, and maybe you guys know better than I would on this, but like, was there a 2K scene, like an esports scene like there was in some of the more traditional esports before the league?
Not really. I mean, there was
right. So I think we were like some of our most like. So you guys kind of just grabbed the pulpit and like took it. Like it wasn't like we had a built-in kind of function where like players were used to streaming and used to doing things on Twitch. Like, I do think some of them could have stepped into that void a little bit more than they did. Like, not everyone did and Bear, you did it. You created a personality and an online personality. Like, you took and made a business.
But it wasn't enough of that, and it was somewhat of a scene with like MPBA and WR, if that's kind of what you're asking. It was somewhat of a scene there with that, but it wasn't. You took the quote unquote best players, and these guys, some of the best players in the world, could care less about hopping in front of a camera at any point in their life. So
yeah,
it's go ahead, talk.
I'll be honest though, like I see both sides of it. Like I really do, because like don't get me wrong, like I'm a content creator first. Like that is what I was in 2K before I was ever a competitive player. Like I had no goals of being the most competitive player. Like I firsthand will tell you guys, like my focus before the league was building my brand, building eyeball, like building everything in the community, because I saw that there was like an opportunity to create like what I saw in other games in this community. So like you look at games like Halo, you look at games like COD, you see like organizations like FaZe and Optic. Like I didn't see that in 2K. And so when I came in, like I kind of wanted to create that, and what is what I did with Eyeball. And the same way with my own like brand, like wanted to build my own brand through whatever, Twitch or YouTube, whatever the case may be. And so then like coming into the league, like I still had that mindset as a player, and like 100%, I agree with you, Bear. Like more players could have and should have did it, but I hate to knock them, but like I always side on like I wish there was just more from 2K on their end from the game that was sold to the general public of like what was really going on, because like it was almost on us to sell what the 2K League was to the community more than it was like 2K kind of putting us, like, if that makes sense, like in front of eyes, right? So like for example, like if I go and play COD right now or whenever like they had their worlds, the first thing that popped up was like COD Worlds, this is the date. Like we never really had anything like that, and I feel like stuff like that to me, and again, I'm not the type of dude to like bash people. I work for 2K, I work for EA. I know how much work goes into this stuff. It's not as simple as some of you guys think. Like, why can't you just go patch this, or why can't you just go add this, or like I know the intricate details it takes to even change the most simple thing. But like even like stuff like that to me could have made a huge difference at the end of the day. And I feel like we unfortunately never got that. And so as much of it was on like for me to build my brand and like sell the league, and like Bear to build his brand and kind of like bring more eyes to the league, like it would have been nice to have some of that integration into 2K, whether it was like a 2K League tab in a dashboard or like a whatever the case may be. I'd feel like there could have been more on that end as well to bring more awareness to all these eyes we talk about. 2K is one of the most sold sports games in the world, blah, blah, blah. This mean people play park or whatever the case may be. Like even the most simple thing could have brought so much more eyes to players, which then could have brought more eyes to the league. I feel like it all goes hand in hand. So I can't say that like it's all on the players or it's all on the staff or it's all on 2K. I feel like every single part of that pillar could have done more, in my opinion. It's funny to look at now that like, and Harris, I'll let you jump in. I'm sure you have plenty to say. Like so many players doing content now. Like Bear, I don't think I've ever seen as many players doing content now than we ever saw when the league was a thing. And it sucks to see because
that's what I'm telling you.
Dude, look at how many people are streaming right now. I agree. Man. It's crazy.
I agree, but like, listen, we're grown men. We know why they're doing that, because they're back against the wall now. They don't have something to lean back on. You can't lean back on being retained anymore.
Exactly. That's my point, Talk. So I'm with you, right? I've jumped on several planes and several meetings. I done had several conversations with BD throughout the years, and I told BD, like, man, we gotta have this. Like when we first went 2K16, 2K17, I remember rolling to the All-Star game. When you could go on, when you go to, like, we're playing, the bracket was up. You seen the Xbox side, the PlayStation side. You could click on a game. Like, I'm like, yo, all we got to do is just put that back in the game for game days. Because I remember clicking on it, 50,000, 70,000 views. So I'm like, these conversations was had, and it's some things that could have been implemented that, to keep the train rolling. But bro, when we're talking about players, bro, these are some of the most entitled, like,
100%.
Bro, I don't even want to go down that bro. I'm a player, bro. So I seen my teammates, I seen my peers, I seen my homies, and like you say, the fire has been lit. But why your back got to be against the wall for you to come out swinging?
The thing about that, Bear, is like it takes you to be built by a different cloth to come in and already have that mindset. Okay, like a lot of these guys, they are what they are. Like, and that's not a knock on them, but it's like you have to want more coming in. You have to, like even when I was drafted my first season, I didn't want to just be a player. I mean, I was talking to BD about working for him season 2. I mean, like I wanted more from the jump. Like you have to come in and want more. You know what I mean? A lot of those guys never had that.
Listen, we know, like, we all on this panel, we know we've all had opportunities. Everybody that's in the chat has had opportunities. Everybody that's going to see this has had opportunities. When you step up to the plate, you don't know what's about to happen. You know what I'm saying? But it's up to you to do what you got to do to succeed. So if the opportunity presents itself and we don't do what we're supposed to do as players in the 2K League and do our part, the opportunity gonna pass you by, baby. And like the opportunity that they're like, all right, it's gonna be a next opportunity that come up, maybe, right? It's supposed to what they're supposed to. You done missed your chance. You done missed your shot. Like the opportunity coming, it can pass you by. So whether you cut from that cloth or you got that hunger or not, the world doesn't care about that, bro. When you step to the plate, are you gonna hit the ball or not? That's all they wanted to know. And I feel like we didn't do our job, bro.
The one part that I want to add into this that, you know, I like Talk said, I kind of see both sides of it. The one part about it that I feel like nobody ever talks about is like, we got to talk about our audience here. Like I love the 2K community. The 2K community means a lot to me, but like it is an extremely, extremely dismissive and amoebic community. It never really knows what it wants out of anything. It certainly doesn't really know what it wanted out of our esports product. And I felt like one of the problems with the league in general, and also this is just a problem I have with 2K in general, is that nobody was really sure like what they wanted out of the league. The audience wasn't really sure what they wanted out of the league because they were immediately kind of dismissive about this idea of our players being that much better than they were. And then, you know, we added in different game modes and we kept trying to convince them that these players are outrageous. And it just felt like we were constantly trying to prove ourselves to our audience while also trying to entertain them. And that's, you know, as a broadcaster, that's a really hard thing to do. I don't think people understand how hard that is as an entertainment product, that you're trying to prove to people why you should exist and also entertain them and thrill them at the same time. You're trying to conquer two very huge emotions. And I think that uncertainty that we get from the audience, I think that's also led to a lot of 2K's problems over the years, is that they're not really sure what their audience wants. So they just kind of keep doing whatever it is that they want because the community is so dismissive up front and also very vocal. The 2K community outside of, I'm not going to sit here and say like I'm in every single gaming community. The 2K community is vocal, man. Holy cow. Things spread like wildfire in this community. I mean, just like what happened a couple days ago, one guy made a tweet about how he doesn't think that, you know, female gamers are good in 2K. And now it's been a whole 3-day discussion on the 2K Twitter about women playing 2K. Like these things spread so quickly in this community. And I think that uncertainty from both audience and kind of like one of the principal co-owners, like it led to, I think it made your job harder, BD. I think it put the league decision makers in a situation where you can never really make everybody happy. Whenever you tried to do one thing, there would always be this host of people telling you that whatever you did was wrong, even if the idea was good. Like looking back on it, adding threes I thought was really cool. But the problem with adding threes is that you have the entire 5v5 community telling you, oh no, like why did you do this? Like there's so much flipping and flopping and uncertainty. And that's kind of why with the players, like bring it back to what we were talking about, I kind of get them not wanting to get into content creation. This is not an easy community to make content for. They're brutal, man. They are absolutely brutal. They will rip you to pieces out here. And I think that some guys,
yeah, I can't.
But here, let me bring it full circle, man. Let me finish it. Let me finish what you're saying. You mentioned how for a lot of people it's about getting up to the plate, right? You got to have the confidence, the charisma, and most of all, you got to have the self-security to actually do that stuff in front of a big audience. And I think a lot of our gamers just
weren't put their face on screen at all.
Built like it. They weren't built for it. I don't think they weren't built for it.
Harris. I know creators.
And this happens, by the way, across esports. There are a lot of esports athletes who in their own community just can't handle the pressure of that kind of content creation. And also, Bear, come on. We've seen plenty of players go up on that stage and fold under pressure. That's for hundreds of thousands of dollars. We're just talking about doing it in front of Twitch. They couldn't really do either.
Cool. But listen, though, I don't need you to be a ToXsiK. I don't need you to be Splash. I don't need you to be ToXsiK. I don't need you to be BearDaBeast. Just go do your part, baby. That's all I need you to do. I don't need you to go
retweet a tweet.
Yeah,
retweet
it. Make a post.
I don't need you to be all of that. So, and then when we say, like, bro, I'm looking at content creation as a whole now. I go look at like, so right, I look at, I want to travel somewhere. They're not putting their face all in the video. They just got a video up and they're talking. You tell me a professional 2K player can't drop hey, here's the secret to this jump shot for 868. You never got to put your face on the camera for that.
A part of it too, though, Bear, is like, and here's where I don't necessarily disagree, is like I'm not even kidding you. I've been involved in the gaming space and communities since I was 13 years old. I mean, the first tournament I went to was a Halo 2 tournament, playing for money, like at 13 years old. Like, I mean, I traveled to Chicago when I was 14 years old. I begged my mom to put me on a plane to fly me to Chicago to go play in a major league gaming tournament with 3,000 kids. Like, I've been involved in, like, since esport was even a term. Okay, like dudes were bringing their own TVs to tournaments and putting them in hotel lobbies and playing in tournaments. Like every community is toxic. Every community is like that.
Every
It's not
community,
just 2K.
every video
Every
game.
community is like that. So like I don't really buy that. And what I'll say is too is like, you know, you mentioned like guys can't handle the criticism or the pressure or whatever the case may be. Like everyone starts at 0. You know what I mean? Like these dudes you're not turned on a stream and you're at BearDaBeast numbers like in day one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like you have time to like feel out who that person is that you're gonna be, and like get to that point to where then maybe you get the criticism and you get like you have to deal. If you get to that point, then you did something right. Yeah, I mean, like you got to get to that point first, and where a lot of guys don't even try to get to that point.
By the way, my comment is also like this is just a general problem that I have with gaming in all, you know, not trying to defend the billion-dollar corporations that make these games, but also I think a big problem with why you're seeing video games being made the way that they are nowadays is because audiences are so vocal on both sides that as a gaming company, when you're trying to develop these games, you're not really sure who you're supposed to be catering towards. So you end up just making creatively, you end up making choices that make you happy. And I think a lot of the times that's kind of one of the reasons why people get angry at 2K. I think 2K in a lot of ways, they're not really sure what part of their audience they're supposed to listen to. So the 2K developers just start making stuff that they enjoy and the that they enjoy, and that's what they push. And honestly, kind of to connect it back to the 2K League, I always thought that was one of the major problems that we were facing, is that we embraced a part of the dev team that was very open to us, like that made the league build and were okay with us. But it very much seemed like there was a whole other side of the 2K dev team that just like wouldn't really engage with us at all. Like, you know, for instance, right, like take the creative team. Like, you know, I know just from talking to ToXsiK, like the amount of just creative ideas that you guys pitched to 2K over the years, like, you know, making the Pro-Am Center League branded or making things a little bit more cooperative inside of the game, and those ideas would just die. And again, like not accusing them of being lazy, but it's just we had access to a very specific amount of people on the 2K dev side, and it felt like we kind of just didn't have the whole team like on the same page wanting to drive the league forward. And again, we're selfish, right? Like we want the 2K League to succeed. That's our number one priority. And they're trying to develop $1 billion video game. It's a very different space, but it all comes back to the same, I think, to me, which is like, I'm not sure what 2K ever really wanted out of the product.
But I don't know. I think the one thing I struggled with, and I feel like even in conversations with all the people in the 2K League community, we were always talking about ideas and getting ideas. The one thing I think we were challenged with was, is your focus on the purity of the best players in the world and like making the gameplay the most important thing, or should it be about getting the biggest amount of eyeballs on a strong 2K group of players versus the absolute positively best in the world, like that maybe aren't content creators or weren't willing to do that. And so I do think we went, that was a tough balance, because frankly, like if we were to keep doing this and the tweaks I would have made moving forward, and Bear and I had this conversation a bunch of times, I would have had the tryout be in the summer before the game came out, have more 2K League activity at the biggest moment of the 2K League game. New game comes out, like we should have a tournament that month. And like, granted, like, are they fixing tweaks still? Who cares? Like, it doesn't be perfect. Like, we would be better.
That's the fun. That's the fun of it.
On the regular.
Well, you know, I can speak to this a little like closely. Like now that I've made my transition over to EA, and like they have the MCS league that they run, and their first tournament for the MCS was literally like day one of Madden 25.
Yeah,
and
isn't it on launch day that they have their first tournament? Yeah.
That is
but there was bugs and there was issues and there was feedback that we gathered from social media and things that we know that had to be fixed, but like they were adamant on day one, like they wanted to have something, and whatever they run into, we'll fix it, and we'll patch and we'll adjust as we move forward. And so like I'm a big advocate on that as well, BD. I was just gonna say, like, I've always been a bit of advocate on that, because I believe that like 2K has this lifespan of like 3 to 5 to maybe 6 months if it's like a really good 2K where like you can grab like the peak of of the 2K life cycle always seemed a little bit more difficult to me. It seemed like we were kind of doing ourselves a little bit of a disservice. Like on top of that, like back to kind of what you said as well, Harris, about like being able to speak to the viewers, and I think it always hurt us that we never had a league build in the game. And not saying that that's the correct answer, like, oh, there needed to be a league build in the game, but like that bridge needed to be gapped, whether it was league build in the game or the league just being retail. Like that to me was the biggest bridge that needed to be gapped, because I go back to where I come from, and like with Halo, we had, even how I got involved in Halo at 14 years old. I mean, I can tell you from the moment I remember, MTV at the time had a TV show called MTV True Life. And there was an episode called MTV True Life, I'm a Pro Gamer. And there was an episode on a guy who I ended up being good friends with. His name's T-Squared, one of the biggest Halo players in the world, was sponsored by Dr. Pepper, X, Y, and Z back then, which was never heard of. And when I first watched that episode at 14 years old, I said, damn, that looks fun. I like Halo. Like, I kind of want to get involved in that. As soon as I got into Halo 2, they had a playlist that I could play, which was MLG Playlist, which was basically Major League Gaming playlist, which was all the game modes and game types that these pro players are competing on a daily. And so that right there, I started playing that every single day to see like, okay, am I good enough? And then from there, built the confidence, started going to tournaments, realized I was good enough. But it was that gap that I was able to get on and play that game mode to say, okay, I like this game mode that they're playing. I like what they're doing. Like, and Cash, I see what you mean. It may have been Halo 3, but you get where I'm going with this. Like, having that ability to bridge that gap and relate to what these kids are watching every day and watching us play, I just think is like one of the biggest marketing tools that we could have possibly had. And not having it was tough, because unless you have your hands on the 2K League build, I can sit here and tell you guys, yeah, it's hard to shoot, and yeah, it's this, but until you play it, you're not going to take my word for anything. So like when they see me whiting shots all season 1, ToXsiK sucks, ToXsiK's that, Bears this, we're that, we're this, we're that. It's like, to me, that was the big disconnect that I think would have made a huge difference among everything else. So that was something I would have loved to see. And then, on top of that, BD spoke about it a little bit. We started to get some of that integration in the game. I know when I came on board, one of the things I was tasked with was helping with the 2K League store in the game, creating new items, like what that store would look like, X, Y, and Z. And even through like the first year, just to run you guys through some numbers, and these aren't exactly accurate, I don't remember exactly, but like I think the numbers were something around like 30,000 or 35,000 unique items sold in the 2K League store, like when I came on board. And I don't say this to say like I deserve credit for it. What I'm saying is, as soon as we started doing more with the store and giving more ideas and more items, and we started getting the teams involved, and the team started having more unique items, and we started having like 2K League Takeover Day, and we started having these little things that started boosting the value of the store and the items of the store more. Within 1 year, that went from 35,000 to like almost 300,000. I mean, it was significant jump. And to BD's point, we never really got to really see that through. Like that was like very minimum. Like, here's like some shirts, here's some cool ideas. Like, we're giving it to you 6 months in advance. We didn't really have like too much time to really fully build out like a program and like holiday items and like tentpole event items. And like, if you watch a game, and like one thing too, that EA, we do a great job of it, like Twitch drops. I mean, now we have Twitch drops for 2K. Like, that's a huge miss with the 2K League. A huge miss not to have to Twitch drops. I mean, Twitch drops I mean, there's just so many things I look back on that say like, and I love BD and I love the team I was a part of, but sometimes it felt like in the office, like you're fighting a battle with your hands tied behind your back, because you have all these great ideas and like all these things that we want to implement. And it's like, well, we don't have the resource to do Twitch drops yet. Like, we're the only game not doing Twitch drops. Like, we're the only esport not doing Twitch drops. Like, we're the only esport that didn't have the pro game mode implemented into the game. Like, it's just a lot of those things came back. And to me, at least like from the player perspective, when I came in, because I came into that position as like, I'm trying to like speak for the players and be that guy who has been in that seat, and like, what are some of the things that I think that could really help? And those are some of the things that I wish we could have had that we never got, that to me just felt like it was always a crutch. And I do think the league had a ton of good ideas. For one thing, I'll say is like, COVID also is we got to talk about COVID. Like that was a big deal. Like going into that third season, I remember as a player, like that new studio looked amazing. It was exciting. Like I remember being in Orlando and preparing for tip off, and like we were so excited to go play in that new arena and like the new studio, and then boom, like everything just shut down. And like now we're not. No, I only saw pictures.
I was there. Beautiful.
It
was cool.
It was awesome, and the location was right in Manhattan. It would have been amazing.
Right. So like that's another thing that those are circumstances, and like unfortunately it's not something that we can control. And like I think the league did a great job of pivoting and making do with what they could at the time. And like, but from a player's perspective, and like Bear, you can speak on this. Like season 3 was the hardest season for me mentally ever. I mean, ever. Like, and I hate to like sound harsh, but the fun was just taken out of it. Like, and Mar brought up pictures there. Like, I mean, that looks sick. Like, I remember seeing that and thinking, like, man, like this is like such an upgrade, and it's just like this is what we need, like to just get this season started on the right foot. And I remember season 3 getting the news, and I was in Orlando at the time and having to go play in the apartment for every game, and like internet issues and this and that, and like that was the most stressful season. And to me, that's where like the fun of the 2K League started to die down for me a little bit. Because listen, season 1 was an absolute goddamn grind. If you weren't a part of season 1, okay, we didn't have bye weeks. We flew every week. I mean, we were the test dummies for sure. Okay, so like, luckily I was in Cleveland, so my flights weren't too bad. But there was guys flying every week from Sacramento, from Portland, every single week. And like I remember flying in, like we would fly in early in the morning to play. Then we had to wait to get in the hotel. Then you had to go play like 2 hours later. Like it was a mental. We didn't even have. Listen, all you guys some of these players that complain, and BD, I used to talk to you about this when I was working with you at the league. Some of these players would complain in season 4, 5, and 6. I didn't even have a league build season 1. I was playing all-star team up. I was practicing on Kyle Korver, and then having to email the league what I wanted my jump shot to be. And hopefully they get it right, because if not, I'm screwed for a month, because they couldn't change it for a whole month. I remember Radiant loaded up into the playoffs with Russell Westbrook. They gave him the wrong jump shot, and you couldn't change it for a whole month. So like to see the steps the league took from season 1 all the way to where we got, I think that's what made it the hardest for me, because I seen it from the beginning, and I was there in the trenches, and then I also was in that other seat as an employee, and seeing the ideas in the meetings, and seeing the things that were trying to get implemented, and seeing all these things that some got shut down, some worked, whatever the case may be. And then for it to just like we're just going to complete 180 was like, to me, like damn, like there's not some things you could have like kept and just adjusted and implemented. Like there's a lot of good. Sure, there's bad and everything, but there was a lot of good that also was there to me that could have been kept and could have been implemented and adjusted to this new scene, whatever this new vision is going to be. And it just sucks to see that, for me personally, because I do think there was a lot of opportunity there. And I think that you're starting to see, hopefully 2K be a little bit more, I don't know if the word is interested or invested on like what this iteration of the 2K League is going to be, because ultimately I'm a firm believer that when they're fully behind it and they're fully behind integration of it, that's when it can really get to another level. And I always think back, and Bear, curious to your opinion on this, because we played like 15, 16, and 17. If the league started in 15, I think we're having a whole different conversation right now. And that's just my personal opinion. And that's because ultimately, and again, like I say this like with no disrespect, but those were the glory years of 2K, 15, 16, and 17. And ever since 17 moving forward, I will say 2K25 has been refreshing. I actually think it's a pretty good game considered the past couple games. But I feel like the product slowly got worse and worse and worse over the years. And that was at the same time that we were trying to ramp up the 2K League and make the 2K League be great as well. And so for me, it's hard. And I'm a firm believer that like if the product isn't a product that the general public wants to get and be a part of, then no matter how many good ideas you bring up, no matter how many things you try to implement, you're always going to be fighting you're bringing a knife to a gunfight at the end of the day. because like the product isn't what it was looked at one point. Yeah. And like, I understand it's hard to make games, it blah, blah, blah. I get all that. But like when you go from such a high point in 2K of 15, 16, and 17, that was the bar. The bar of great 2Ks. If you talk to anyone, ask them what are some of the best 2Ks, they can't tell you the best 2Ks without one of those three. They cannot tell you that. And so for us to be starting right when that era ended, and feel like it was like, you know, sometimes it's like, you know, BD, you got to get in that window of like timing. And I just feel like sometimes like that it almost felt like we were one step away from like being maybe a couple years earlier and being part of some of the best 2Ks ever. So that's just like my 2 cents, but anyone feel free.
I will say it is brutally evil. I think, at least from my point of view, that we were so like publicly adamant, at least the players, content creators, whoever, like so badly wanted 2K to make like this big ranked mode, this big competitive mode inside of the game and reflect it off of the 2K League. Like that was such a huge, you know, even talking about the league build, right? And then the league ends or end hiatus, whatever you want to say. And then this year they released the Proving Grounds game mode, which is this huge community-wide ranked mode of 1v1, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, 5v5 across the board. The year the league goes away, when, oh man, like you put that in, you know, season 3, season 4, like when we're, you know, really starting to like hit it big on ESPN, you put that ranked mode in that version of 2K and you just call it 2K League Proving Grounds, right? You just put the 2K League logo, same game mode, just connected to the league. Maybe you build ranked points and the top ranked players get to play in the combine for free. They don't have to go through the qualifiers, whatever it was. There's so many easy like pipeline ways that you could have done. And honestly, Tox, when they announced the Proving Grounds mode, I closed my computer and I had to like walk away from the screen. I could not stomach seeing them put that in there while we're walking out the door. I couldn't believe it. I still to this day don't know how that wasn't part of what, like, how did they not want to put a competitive game mode in the game that people would take seriously and also connect to the esport that they're trying to build? Like, it just seems like common sense to me, and to the point of like, oh well, it takes a lot of time to make these things work. It takes developer hours and all this stuff. They did it. Clearly, they've been ideating over this for a couple years, but they never made it a priority. And it just, man, it made me. I feel like a man with shotguns, like gripping fist at the sky. Like, how did you not do this earlier?
What I can say, Harris, and like, and BD can speak on it too, is like that was something that we brought up a couple years ago, and they were pretty much on board with the idea of it. Like they liked it, and they thought it was something that could be you know, beneficial. I think it was more of like working out the kinks of like how logistically it would work between both ends and whatever the case may be. But like from my knowledge, like when we came up to them with that idea of like, and I won't sit here and say like we gave them the idea of Proving Grounds, like that's because that's not what we did. Like I remember our idea was more of like, Pro-Am seemed to be sort of like a dying product. So like give us Pro-Am and let us turn that into like a ranked place for 2K League, basically, was our idea. Obviously more details were in that. And from what I remember talking with Joe and BD and being in some of those meetings, like it was received well. And like it was something that they liked and thought could be a good idea. It just never got to like being created, and I'm not sure if it's like, I think it's just kind of weird timing that like the 2K League made a change on their view of what they're going to be, and then like that came out. So like I think if like maybe if there was no change of the 2K League, then maybe that is what the 2K League would have got. I mean, that's just wishful thinking here, but I mean, BD, like, you know, like I think a lot of time like that idea was accepted.
I'm speaking truly as a fan on this topic. Like, I wouldn't be so sure that that's not part of the iteration. You know, the next iteration of what happens. I think the goal, and we've been talking about it a little bit in terms of the areas where we may have chosen the wrong path at times. I think the next iteration of this maybe is to appeal to the wider part of the funnel, to appeal to the more casual fan versus the truly top of the pyramid. And so I think that's, you know, my guess is that might be, and I don't know, but because I'm not building it, but I imagine that might be part.
So let me ask you this, right? Because I hear like, because you were saying it earlier, I should have wrote them down. You had about 10 points I want to talk on, but you would say you had a lot of good conversations in the office with BD, and it's just like you just feel like it didn't come through. And then here's like the rank mode, like they finally got it now. Cool. Everybody gets their wishes, right? Everybody gets their wish. We put all these. We let inside of the store. Y'all got to grow that out more. We got the more ideas. We get the rank mode, and then we load back up in February, March. In this 2K cycle this year, we load back up. Do we get the viewership that we want? With everything that we possibly could have wanted and desired to be implemented in, like a snap of finger, we're in there, we're good. What does March look like when we load up for NBA 2K League? What does our viewership look like?
I'll say no. Because I think, to be honest, I think the biggest key to that is starting the league in the early life cycle of 2K.
Exactly. It's got to. That's forget everything else, right? I could give y'all some stuff as far as people saying 2K League ain't entertaining, 2K League boring. Man, if the 2K League certain sponsorships held certain information in boxes, if they got to know what really was going on, 2K League would blow up reality show. So 2K League wasn't this boring thing that just people didn't watch. We were selling ice cream in the middle of the winter. Like 2K just it just don't pop. It just don't pop around that time.
That's great.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. So from me doing content and knowing what my Twitch check and my YouTube checks look like in September, October, November, December, compared
whole
to
different ball game.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
And that's one thing I always talk to BD about, and I'm just like, yo, like if we could just get that thing, and then they tried to put the All-Star game around there. I'm just like, just from seeing my growth on platforms and money wise, I'm like, yo, 2K. I didn't know nothing about coming into it, talk the content of it, and knowing what viewership was, and this whole algorithm, and knowing when I'm gonna get my viewers, and knowing when Bill Bills will pop, or Bill videos will pop. I didn't know any of that. I didn't know. I was struggling right there. I didn't know any of that, man. I was like, with seeing like how smart those guys were in that room as far as management. I'm like, there's no way this isn't like, it's got to be, that's number one, and everything else is levels. Like y'all said it, we could have got everything we potentially wanted, everything. And if we'd have started in February, we still gonna get the same amount of views.
Well, I agree with you.
I believe that.
Yeah, I agree with you. And BD, like, question for you on this: like, do you think that the league maybe like they went all in to make a splash so early, like too quickly, in a sense? Like, when I say that, like, if you look back at like how much money was being funneled to like players living in cities, and like the flights every week, and like being in Manhattan, and like all these things, like, do you feel like the idea for that going in was because like obviously like you guys wanted to make such an impact and like something different and like that was never been seen before, but now if you peel back the curtain a little bit, like I feel like if teams would have been able to have players like play remote and like do things remotely and like have tournaments, like kind of how we got to later down in the life cycle of like, you know, qualifying for a couple weeks, then you go to an in-person tournament and like things of that nature. And, you know, on top of like the league starting earlier in the life cycle of 2K. And another big point I'll make, Bear, that I think would have made a difference is like, I think being 6 months on and 6 months off is super tough. Because like you're 6 months on, you're pumping all this stuff in for 6 months, and then for 6 months, like you're not dark, but I mean you're dark. I mean, for the most part, like you have a few things popping up on social here and there. Some players are doing something, but like if there would have been like a 12-month regimen of like 6 month competition, or like even like 9 month, like stretched out like 9 month competition, 3 months of like, I don't know, I'm just spitballing here, like, you know, recruiting or whatever the case may be, to where it's just constant like stuff going on. Do you think that would have made a bigger change? And then like, so I know it's a loaded question, but like I look back at season one and look at about like how much traveling and like these players living in the cities and like teams covering rent and flights and all this stuff. Like, do you think like that foundation may have been a little too much to start?
Maybe, but I don't think that whole scene knew any different in terms of, like, you have NBA teams that all of a sudden have an esports team, like of course they're going to fly them in to play league games, and we decided to develop one single studio. Like it was like the Rolls-Royce brand, to do it the right way. Like you're going to fly players in, you're going to have them in apartments. Like you're going to do it right. And so I think like that part was kind of the cachet of the NBA 2K League, was we were professionalizing esports a little bit, right? I mean, that was kind of part of our value proposition to the community.
Yeah.
Like the fact that we were the first ones doing a draft,
Yeah.
Man,
I mean, selfishly, like shit, I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I think everything y'all did was, man, like as a player, BearDaBeast, I think everything y'all did was about 98, 99% right, man. Like the only thing I just didn't like was if we just could have got the 5v5 tip off or whatever threes was called, the slam. If we could have got that, man. I'm from I'm from the era where when 2K come out, I'm in the GameStop line. Like that's my era.
Yeah.
Like if it could have been a tournament, if you watch this and we could have added Twitch drops and you're part of this, you get X amount off of whatever y'all could have came up with. If we could have just started around that time, every idea y'all had, I think we would have been, man. I think that was it. I don't think y'all did too much wrong in my eyes. I don't.
No, listen. I'm more self-critical of that. I mean, I think there are some things we could have tweaked, but I think again, going back to the point, we were going to be at the top, like, and so as a result, like, there was this feeling that like we had to create the league build, which was going to be different, and the league build had to be built after the game came out, and so like that was in some weird ways back from taking advantage of that third quarter, whatever. Was September time period. That's why, I mean, to me, the next iteration after adding threes would have been try out combine in the summer, let the league start when the game's released. Like to me, that would. And by the way, like I think the league build, frankly, was overhyped in terms of its need. I think we would have been fine playing the regular version of the game.
But players was so against retail version. All the players gave so much feedback, negative feedback about it being retail. We don't want retail.
They might still be players.
Say it again.
Except for they might still be players.
It's ego though, right? Like it was ego, like because what it ended up being is that it ended up being this narrative that you had retail players and then you had league build players, and it kind of did end up being that. Ironically, we did have guys who were way better on the league build than they were on retail. I mean, shout out to our most recent championship team. I love CB, I love Mama, but they were never really what I would say the top end of the retail guys. You put them on the league build, they turned into Superman and Batman. Like it just wasn't fair. I don't know, Bear. I think it was a lot of ego. Like I think it was a lot of guys who were maybe afraid to lose their spot in the league or afraid to lose their notoriety in the league because they were so built off of the league build side of things that the idea of playing the retail game, it kind of pushed against their insecurities.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. So I wish BD and those guys would, like, I grew up with my pops, and so like your pop's gonna set you straight. We ain't going for the BS. We don't care what you're talking about. This the rules, and this how it's gonna go. I wish y'all would have been a little bit more stern on, like, bro. We had people in the league bashing the league. Like these people pay your bills, bro, and you bashing the company. Like I wish y'all would have just tightened up a little bit more. And look, I don't care what y'all are talking about. I don't care what y'all perspectives are. This how it's gonna go. And if you want to be a part of this, get on board. If you don't, pack your bags, pack your shit, and I'm gonna holler at you. And we're gonna pick somebody else to fill that spot. And I just don't think.
I think we were heading in that direction. I think we were heading in that. I think the next iteration. I mean, Daniel and I were talking about making that adjustment, and Joe and I mean, we were heading that direction. And that was where like adding people like ToXsiK, adding Ann Moole to the group. I mean, like having some former players actually on the staff full time made a big difference too.
Yep. And like I know we're talking a little overtime, so I'll wrap it up here. But a few things that we'll close out on, and then I got like a little quick spitball questions for you guys. I think for me, obviously the league has done so much for me from the beginning to the the ultimate end. And I think a lot of the hardest part of it was the way it ended for a lot of us. And like for me at least, it was like one was just being completely out of left field that like BD was leaving. Like that to me was like, I remember when I got the text message, BD, I forgot who texted me. I think like maybe Joe. And he's like, BD's stepping down. And I was like, BD who? I was like, what BD you talking about? You're not talking about Brendan Donohue. I know you're not talking about him. And so I think for me, like that was one of that was when honestly, like, and BD, we've had discussions in private, but like that to me is like when my last foot kind of left the door. And like I kind of was hanging on by a thread to like, I love this league, and I love what it's about, and like I want to try to help it grow. But like a part of when you left, like the league left, and like for me, like that's just me being honest. Like there was no, like it's not the 2K league without BD, and so it was hard for me to be 100% on board, like with what this new idea would be and the new leadership. And I think they have obviously great people there now, and like what they're gonna try to accomplish. They have my respect, and they have I'll be there rooting them on just like I was when I was a part of the 2K league when I first joined. So like for me, I think though the hardest part was the way it ended, and then like also being on both sides of the spectrum. And like all the players I've met that were affected from it, and then the team that I met that you put together, BD, like that team lasted with me and stuck with me more than I think I realized it would have. The people there, the relationships I built, some of the most genuine, just kind-hearted, like really care about you as a person, your well-being, like those people. I'll miss that environment more than anything. And it's funny because when I was going through my interview process with EA, they all asked me the same thing. I went through like 6 or 7 interviews with EA, and they all asked me the same thing. They said, why would you want to leave the NBA? And I'm like, well, I don't. but the thing was, with the team changing, I knew I needed a change. And then the one thing I asked every single person at EA was, how is the culture and how is your team? Because the team that I was a part of, that didn't feel like work every day. Like those people that like literally I could call, talk to any day. I mean, I text BD still like just to joke around. Like those are the type of people I want to be around. I think that goes back to what BD said earlier when he was talking about what's going to be next for him. It's about who and like who you're around and like who you're working for. That I've realized to me, like that might be one of the lessons I learned the most out of the 2K league and from you, BD, was like, it's not always about like the smartest person bringing on or like the person with the best resume or whatever the case may be. It's about getting the right people and putting those people together, and then something special can be built from that. And I think that's what the 2K league had. So I'm fortunate to like be able to be a part of that, not only as a player, but also as a staff member. So for me, I just wanted to say that and let everyone understand that. And I think the staff also, you guys, if anyone hears this, I know TJ's been messaging me saying he watches the podcast, so shout out to TJ. But the staff, I want all the staff to know too, because I don't think you guys hear it enough. And I told you guys this before I left. I remember a lot of like literally the last event in DC we had. I told all you guys, I gave you all hugs before I left. Like, you guys aren't appreciated enough either, and you don't hear it enough from the players. Like, we appreciate what you guys did every day more than you guys even really know. Like, you may not hear it. Sure, you may have us crazy guys on Twitter talking shit or like saying this or doing that about the league sucks, this or that. But at the end of the day, like, we got to go to sleep every day and wake up every morning and go to practice and play a game and get paid to do what we love to do and be a part of these NBA organizations. And like, I mean, I and Bear knows, and like, meeting players, meeting GMs, going to games, like lifetime memories that I'll have forever, no matter what my job is, no matter where I'm at in life. So I just want like BD, you to know, and everyone that was a part of that staff, that we appreciate you guys and the opportunities that you guys brought us. To me, like, there's no loss in life. Like, I hate thinking of like that. Like, it's a lesson. Everything I go through is a lesson in my life. And like, the 2K League was an opportunity. It was a blessing at the end. It's not a loss. It was a lesson. I learned from it. I grew from it. I was able to go and now do even more things that I could never imagine that I would have been able to do. If I didn't get the 2K League job or was part of 2K League, I wouldn't be with EA working on college football, stuff that I love dearly. So like it's all a lesson. So I just want you guys to know you're appreciated and the players appreciate you guys. I don't think you guys hear that enough, but some final things for you guys before we close out. Like I want all you guys to your favorite like 2K League moment. What moment are you most proud of in the 2K League of your time? And BD, we'll start with you. We'll go BD, Bear, Harris, and then I'll end the question. And I have a few more of those different questions that we'll kind of spitball.
I think the original draft and the original finals, those were two crazy big moments that I thought were special. I will say, and very few people know this, but at the original draft, when the Garden, Madison Square Garden, put the air conditioning on, and literally the stage the air almost knocked the stage over, and me and TJ and Aaron Ryan are holding this curtain. It's the things like no one ever knows about. Literally, the stage would have fallen on top of it would have just collapsed. But that's more of a funny moment. But yeah, those would be my two. And then and I'll stop there.
Go ahead, Bear.
That's a tough question, boy. That's a tough question. I grew up with no 3 hours. From my hometown, the furthest I'd ever been was 3 hours outside of my hometown. So from me to go to Minnesota, fly to New York every single week, come back, at that point, however many games you played, how many times you went to New York, from going to Korea to China, being able to go to Beijing, Shenzhou, Shenzhen, Seoul, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, winning the championship, going to Vegas, Orlando, man, bro, there's no moment for me. Like the 2K League is the 2K League. People know BearDaBeast because of the 2K League. Like I could walk around proudly with my chin up, chest out because of the 2K League. So I don't know if I have a moment because, bro, I swear, wherever I was in them 5, 6, 7 years, I had a good time and met so many dope people. So like, bro, I enjoyed it. Like, I don't know if I got a moment, man, because I enjoyed the ride.
And Tox, the one thing I just want to make sure I address after you said those nice things, like, and the phrase I do not use lightly, I say it totally authentically, is like, when I use the phrase 2K League family, like, that's legit. That to this day, I wear this shirt proudly because I still believe in that. And like this week, like I'm talking to you, like I'm talking to all you guys, like I had a phone call with Nacho and I still text with Deeds who hadn't played in years. Like to me, like that family is still there, and for me, will always be there.
Yep. Harris.
Well, coming off two good answers, I'll give a smaller, more introspective one. My favorite moment, I think, was the last quarter of the last finals game this past year. The NBA 2K League broadcast team is a really tight-knit group. Myself, Dirk, Autumn, JT, Jasmine this year. In the past, we've had guys like India, guys like Jeff come through. Like we're a tight-knit group. We're all still friends to this day. And the moment that'll always stick with me is like looking kind of down the line and knowing that it was going to be our last show together. It was really emotional, but it also reminded me that I love that team so much. It's so rare. I'm a 29-year-old professional broadcaster. I'm a baby broadcaster, man. Like I got a long way to go before I'm anywhere close to what would be considered a veteran in this business. But I do know as an absolute fact that I will never have a better, more talented, cooler team to work with as a broadcaster. I'll have some cool people I'm going to work with. I'll work with some really talented people. I know that for sure over the course of my career. Nothing will ever have the combination of talent, camaraderie, chemistry, kindness. I mean, JT was texting me today asking for my headset. I texted Autumn today looking for a job reference. Like, I don't think I'll ever have a unit like that again. So, that's family right there. That's blood at this point.
Yep. And then mine, it's one of those things where it's like, I have so many, it's like it's a bear answer. Like there's so many, so I can't really give you one, but one that I think will be funny and BD, if it's one of those ones, it's like, if you were either there, you had to be there. And I'll go with the season one end of the year party. It's one of those things that is not talked about often. And it's one of those things where, like, if you were there, you were there. And that's all I'm going to say. We're not going to get any details about that party, but if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. So for me,
just remember, Tox. I just want to point out, I wasn't at that party, but I've heard a lot of stories coming out of that party. A full-fledged family has been created. Shout out to Raina and Boo Painter, who are expecting their first child coming up in a couple of weeks. So from that party to a full-blown family being created in Kentucky now. So shout out.
It's one of those ones, like I'll say, you had to be there. We won't get into any detail, but that was a very fun night to cap off season 1. And then real quick, like, we'll fire off quick answers here. Best 2K League game ever, BD?
I would say semifinals. I don't know which tournament it was. It was in Indy. It was a series between the T-Wolves and Washington. It was just a battle. For every single game was a battle. Much so that the Wizards won and then got smoked in the finals because they were just drained. They had nothing left.
That was a good one. Bear, Harris, you guys can answer also. We'll do the same cadence.
Go Harris. I can't. It was a lot of
it's crazy. Here, let me give 2 answers because I want to give 3v3 some love. The best 3v3 game ever played was game 7 of the bracket reset, Dukes versus Pistons. And Loki Godlike hit the biggest and also, I believe to this day, the most valuable 3v3 shot monetarily ever hit in 2K history, where his one made bucket, because it was like 20-18 or 20-19. That game-winning bucket was worth literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. It's the most valuable 3x3 shot ever shot in 2K.
Yep.
And then 5v5, the best game that I can remember was also in Indy. That would have been the season 5 finals, game 1, Bucks Wizards. The official dethroning of the Wizards dynasty, where the game basically ended when ToXsiK hit an above the break front fade 3 out of lockdown build to ice the game with a minute left. I still think that's the best shot I've ever seen a 2K Pro hit, because, man, those lock builds could not shoot. Shout out to Wolf, who shot 27% from the field on that lock build all season long, and then ToXsiK just comes out and hits that shot. We all went crazy. That was my favorite game.
Bear, you got one?
Yeah, I got Bucks. I see in the chat they say we hold information, so I think it was season 5. We got Bucks season 5 versus us on the stage. People really don't know. We about got fined because we about got into a fight. I mean, it was our 5 versus their 5. We literally, like, we got off the stage. This was in warm-ups. This was like the day or two before. This is warm-ups. But whatever, we got off the stage, and I mean, there's a big crowd in front of us. Everybody got their hands up. If somebody would have swung, it was going down. So then we later had to play them or whatever, a day or two later. Like, it was there. Like, it's a bunch of grown men, whatever. Everybody's gamers. I get it. Cool. If somebody would have crossed that line and swung, it was going down between the two teams. So then we later had to play them, and we went to a game 3, which was one of the most craziest series I've ever played in. And then the series that BD talks about, that was a crazy series as well, because that was fun though. That was some good.
That was a good one.
It was nice. It was clean, and it was competitive. Us versus I think it was it Awkward and Dayfry? I think maybe that was the one I'm thinking of. But yeah, it was good, clean trash talk. That was a good one. And nobody wanted to give an inch.
Yeah, that was a good one. It's funny you reading that comment about leaving out details. Listen, there's a lot of details of different stories that we could go on about. I mean, like, more than you can imagine.
Yeah.
Like, to Bear's point, there was plenty of almost fights as multiple teams I was on. A quick one I'll give you: when I was in Cleveland, I had Hood and I had ToXsiK, and we had Mark got a 2K turn up defense. We had a pretty good team in season 1, and I remember we were scrimmaging the Raptors. And if you guys remember in season 1, the Raptors were hot at the end of the year. They were beating everybody at the end of the year. And we scrimmaged them probably 5 days. Yeah, we scrimmaged them probably 5 days in a row. And they beat our ass for 5 days straight, to the point where they had us so mad at each other. like we didn't know what was going on in that room. And I remember vividly one point, and Hood, I know you're in here somewhere. I know you'll probably see this. You never passed me the ball. And I remember one time in practice, I said to you, yo, they're pinching, hit me. And he didn't hit me. And he turned it over. And I said, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not running back this time, Bear. I'm sitting here on the hash. I ain't getting back. And I didn't get back. And they scored a fast break point. And I remember Jerry got up and looked at me and said, you better run back on defense next time or you're playing. Who do you think you are, Jerry? And me and Jerry got each other's face. And that was almost a beat down. That was bad. And, hey, listen, I love those guys to death, but we ended up going and beating the Raptors in the round one of the playoffs. So whatever the Raptors did, it helped us get better because they made us almost kill each other, and we got better and ended up beating them in the playoffs. But for me, best games of all time, I'm a little biased. Obviously, I think season one when we played the Mavs and Dimes got that travel call at the very end. And like Hood had 52 and was like, that's why I should have been the number one pick. Like, I thought that was one of the most energetic games I ever been a part of. That one was crazy for me. And then another good one. I think this was the T-Wolves, or Harris remind me, or Bear remind me. Weren't you guys down a lot to like the Cavs and ended up coming back in the fourth quarter with like a minute left or something?
Down 18 with like 2.5 minutes left. They came back and won. Yeah.
That was a crazy game on stage for me as well. I thought that one was nuts. And then another one I got to give a shout out to, maybe not the best game ever, but probably like the one game where I felt the most energy going into a game I ever watched at the 2K League was the Dayfry Dimes beef game, the first one ever in stage.
Yeah,
and I remember Keyboard Gabe was like, yo, relax. And we're like, yo, let him fucking go. Let him go.
Dude, Dimes stopped the game at one point because the trash talk got too crazy. He walked off the stage and was like, I'm not playing like this until they calm down.
Vividly,
it was a whole thing.
You could feel the energy in that stadium before that game. Like, they both walked out. I remember Dayfry walked out across the cake top and just stared Dimes down. I was like, oh shit, like this is about to go down. Like we're in, like all the players were so hype about it. Like that to me was one of the craziest moments of any game. Probably not the best game, but energy wise, one of the craziest. And then next question,
by the way,
quick, a tough one.
One last thing.
Yeah.
By the way, the Cavs T-Wolves game that you mentioned, if that game doesn't happen, I've said this multiple times before, the T-Wolves do not win the championship if they don't blow that lead in the fourth quarter. Because I don't know if Bear remembers this, because I remember there was an interview after they lost that game where Bear basically called out that their whole season was going to turn around coming off of that game. They went 7-1 after they lost that game, and then they walked through the playoffs after that. They lost one game until the finals for the rest of the season. Crazy.
That was one of, because we used to go from the studio back to the hotel, and that was one of the, man, I can't think of a word to explain that bus ride, van ride home back to that hotel. That was one of the great, like, I done played ball all my life, man. I got my butt whooped plenty of times. I done lost fights and had to ride back home with my pop. Like,
hey man,
that trip right there was different. That was different.
Yo, those van rides back, man. If you weren't in those vans, you just don't understand, man. There's sometimes it was like sometimes you're sitting in the van at a team that you just lost to, and you're just like, man, those van rides back to the hotel or something.
Yeah.
All right, quick one. Another one that's a tough one, so we'll be quick though. What is your 2K League Mount Rushmore? 2K League Mount Rushmore. I'll go first. I'll break the ice. I'll go first. So number one, I think this should be across the board. At least I think. I think Dayfry is number one on that list for me. You could give no order. It doesn't have to be 1 through 4, but like just 4 names. And then honestly, it gets tricky here. So like for me, I'm gonna go with Kenny. I think Kenny got that notch for me after the last couple years. And I say that because what he did in Toronto that 1 year on point guard to win MVP, then he goes over to the Warriors and has such an impact on that Warriors team from the lockdown position, was probably one of the best locks like the past couple years. And like to win back-to-back, it's like I think you got to give him a notch for what he did on 2 positions and as the amount that he won. So I'll go Dayfry. I'll go Kenny. Ooh, man. This is tough. Then I go I'm going to go with JBM. And I say that because the guy came in, played 2 years, and won 2 championships. I don't care who was on his team. He was a part of that turnaround. You got to give him respect. People will say, well, Dave Fry made a finals without him the year after. But still, man, like to come in, 2 of them, like that's an accomplishment on its own. And then the last spot for me, I would go. I'll hedge it to this is a tough one. I'll give a couple honorable mentions, but I'll go with Nadal. I think Nadal's in there for me. Again, I think what he did in the first couple seasons with Portland was like they were dominant. They were before the patch season 1. I mean, they were running through everyone. And then for him to go to the Warriors as well and do what he did, I'll put him 4. And then my honorable mentions, I would put Bear in that honorable mention. I'll put Dimes in that honorable mention, and I'll put Keena in that honorable mention. Those 3. But so there you can make an argument for any of those. But my 4 would be Dave Fry, JBM, Kenny, and Nadal.
Okay, it's pretty good. BD, you want to go or should I?
Go ahead.
All right, I've thought long and hard about this, Tox. I've spent many a night staying up late thinking about my 2K League Mount Rushmore, waiting for this exact moment. So thank you for asking this question. This to me is actually quite easy. I think it is simplified for us over the past couple years. I think the final 4 is CB, Mama, Cease, Dave Fry. CB ends up being the best point guard of all time, 2 titles, 5 MVPs in 1 season, never done before. Mama retires as the all-time leading scorer and maybe the most decorated 2K player in history. Cease is the best defensive player in the history of 2K. I love Dave Fry. Dave Fry's a great player. Cease is the best. There has never been a player more dominant at their position than Cease was at power forward. Like looking back on it, he was just so clearly the best ever at that position that you kind of have to have him. And then Dave Fry, I mean, I don't want to say that the season 3 and season 4 Wiz saved the league, but I don't think that the league would have been able to survive coming off of COVID if they didn't have such a powerhouse that was carrying interest the way that Dave Fry and that Wizards team did. Their season 4 run through the playoffs is still the greatest run any team has ever had. Sorry, Warriors. The Wizards still take precedent for me. So, yeah, CB Mama Cease, Dave Fry.
Bear, you or me?
Yeah, you might not, I'm thinking and through both answers. So you could go BD. It's tough, man.
So it's funny. I agree with Dave Fry. I had JBM. I think other names you mentioned like Cease, Mama, EB13. I think all those guys definitely be considered. The other, I will say, I do look at it a little bit in terms of seasons also. Like to me, like season 1, for example, like I'm not sure there was a better player than Radiant in season 1. And so like that in itself to me is almost like Hall of Fame worthy, right? In terms of like, the best player at any given season, I think has a special place in terms of, I think they became the greatest player in the world for a year.
Yeah,
that
makes
sense?
I mean, Radiance. Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Radiance run like I thought in the first couple of years, Radiant was like on a whole nother planet as a player. So I can agree with you on that end. So Bear, I know you got. Listen, man, I know you got your 4s. Like I know you listen. We'll make it easy for you, Bear. You put yourself in 1. You got 3 spots left. All right, brother. 3 spots to give you. You can take one of them. We need 3 names from you, and you're muted.
You said I'm who?
You're muted. You were muted.
You're muted.
Oh,
Bear,
okay.
you are the Mount Rushmore of stage players. I will say that. There's not a better stage player on the planet.
Him and Awkward are like probably 1 and 2.
BD, I don't need nobody to hype me up, baby. I got it. I can do that, BD. No, I appreciate it. But it's tough, man, because it's all the guys that you got to think y'all just named. Man, you got to think I've had so many important battles with these dudes. Like legacy-wise for 2K and then money-wise. So, bro, that's tough. Man, you got like Day Fry, JBM. You got Cease. You got the Johnny Reds. You got Kai. You got Mama Keena. Kenny, Tomley Cooks, Doms, Radiant. Like, man, I've battled. Man, I ain't gonna lie, I'm a cop out. I got so much. I'm not gonna lie, man. I got so like y'all. I got so much respect for these dudes, and I know how much time you have to put in your craft to even be considered. I can't put one of them over the other. Like I don't want to leave somebody off the list, man. I got so much respect for these guys, and they don't even know it. I promise I can go bring y'all my notebook right now. I got 5 notebooks all the way back from season 2, my first season. And it's just how much of studying I did on these guys, tendencies. I got the notebooks to this day. I'll never get rid of them. And it's 5 notebooks. Anybody's on my team know about the notebooks. But man, I got so much respect for these dudes. I can't, man. I can't, bro. I can't disrespect anybody because I respect them so much. I can't.
I respect.
By the way, Bear, when they were doing the behind the scenes like little thing earlier in the NFL offseason about Tom Brady and his prep to be a professional broadcaster for the first time this year, he had the exact same thing that you did. He showed off binders, 22 different binders of all of his notes from every single game, every single team that he played, and he just had these extensive notes. He literally pulled one open. He's like, I have a game here, 2005, week 4, we played the Bills, and he was just going through like their entire game plan. He had it all saved. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that you have that.
Mine ain't in depth. It ain't in depth like Brady, but it's for a guy like me that never could dribble fast and move fast, I had to have an advantage somewhere else. So
sure,
I've these guys, man, I've studied them like day in and day out for years. So I appreciate them. I honestly appreciate them, and I've stole stuff from literally all of them, and I could go through the season. So I can't disrespect somebody. I'll feel bad.
No, I respect that. All right, so I know we're over time, so I appreciate you guys being patient through the technical difficulties and being a part of the conversation. So before we end out and close out, if there any last words or anything you guys want to say before I close it out, feel free. The floor is any of you guys if you want to say any final things.
I'll go first. I never.
Okay, go ahead. You can go first. Go ahead.
No. I always talk first. You got
it. Okay. Well, no, man. I appreciate you for inviting me up, Tox. Man, I appreciate everybody on this panel, man. From like BD said, we're family, bro. Like it is, and it's. I've always looked at it like that. Y'all welcome me in. Y'all allow me to be me. I got my name from the 2K League, bro, and I walk around proudly. From that, so I appreciate it. From Harris doing his thing on the broadcast, and Tox, you being a player and doing the content, man, keep grinding. And BD, like, man, I've seen you so many times, had so many conversations. You'll never know just from me being around you, me picking your brain and just asking questions to you, maybe stupid questions, but I'm trying to get as much knowledge as I can. I'm always a believer, a big fan of 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. But I remember conversations in Vegas. I just from watching you around the studio and watch how you carry yourself. I appreciate you, man. So as people, y'all rarely hear me talk bad about the 2K League because I got so much respect for the 2K League, and you was a big part of that. And I don't care what nobody say, man. I don't think it was a failure. I think one tweak and I think all the problems went away. I think that was the magic trick. If you ask me, and I honestly believe that. But I appreciate you for having me up here, man. And you guys will always be like good, close friends of mine, role models of mine, mentor. I appreciate it, man. I really do. I appreciate the opportunity, man. We'll always be family in my eyes.
Yes, sir. Harris.
All right, I'll go. Talking to you guys is kind of. I thought I had gotten over the league going away emotionally, but in reality, I knew that this was going to be something that we all kind of get over in waves. I'm sure there'll be another wave for me once we start, the UPA Pro League and the UPA College Leagues that are coming up. I'm so excited for those. I'll be very, closely involved with those. I still love competitive 2K, and I think it's going to hit us all again when we come around to draft time around December, January. We won't have the big boards and the mock drafts and all the streams and all the combine and stuff. We'll get hit with another wave, around draft time, and then, wave after wave during the spring and summer when we, would have been working, and we're just not this year. So, it's still tough. And, I talked about the audience before and how the 2K community can be kind of cruel. At the same time, I have such a love for the 2K community as well. They've given us all such a home inside of this that you can never really say how grateful you are. But I am grateful to the 2K community. We're all certainly not done with each other. But yeah, it's still emotional. I'm still sad about how the league went down. I'm obviously excited to see what the league turns into going forward. But it's just, I made a joke. I've made jokes all throughout the years about different players who I would call the 2K League zombie. We gave it to multiple players over the years. Swizzerk was the primary one, the ultimate 2K League zombie. Could never kill that guy. Every year, back in the league, doing the same thing. I am hoping that the 2K League does not become a zombie itself. I hope that whatever they reanimate it with, it has a real heart to it and a real soul. I hope it's not some empty husk of an influencer machine that just kind of waddles its way before ultimately turning it to dust. So I'm excited to see what they're able to do. I am still emotional about it. I don't think I'll ever fully forgive 2K for the way that they handled us going out, but that's part of being an adult. You get punched in the face and you gotta wipe yourself off and move on to the next. So that's just the nature of things. I'm lucky to be surrounded by a lot of great people. So, we'll see what happens. But hey, UPA Pro League starts up in a couple of weeks, so be there. Bear, I hope to see you in the UPA Pro League as well. I hope this isn't the last time we see you play 2K for big money.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he's streaming and making videos now, man.
Yeah, he's a content creator now.
No,
what's the saying? Either go for it, PD. Sorry.
No, I don't have much to say. I mean, I'd say ToXsiK again. Thanks for the invite. It's fun always talking 2K League. I will say that video. Send that out. I want to see that video, man. I love that thing. That was did Mar do that, by the way?
He did.
That was incredible. But listen, I would say that, and Bear said it best. I got nothing but love for the 2K League. I mean, I wear this proudly. This is what we all created and what we built. And Harris, I think the one thing it's important to realize as we think about 2K League is all of a sudden you have hours and hours of broadcast experience because of the 2K League, and all of a sudden Bear is a social media influencer because of the 2K League. To me, I can't wait to go back 10 years from now and see where everyone's taken their skills to do this incredible stuff outside of it, or maybe as part of the 2.0 version of it. But to me, I just think it gave so many people interesting opportunities to become leaders, to become coaches, to break into the NBA circle. I just think it created so many opportunities. That was so much fun to be a part of. And, I said, again, 2K League family for life. I love it. And no one's going to change my mind on that.
Yep, for sure. Well, guys, I appreciate it. Sorry we went a little bit over time, but it means a lot for you guys to come on and talk about this. Obviously, it's something that we all hold dear to our hearts. And like BD said, 2K League family for life. So, I appreciate all you guys, the relationships, the battles that me and you had, Bear, on stage, to the conversations we've had as content creators. It's honestly, I will say, as one of the few players to come in the league that took content serious, it's good to see a guy like you take it and run with it the way you're doing it. So keep doing what you're doing. Listen, I'm happy just to be back on my own right, doing my own content again. So I'm, guys like you motivate me and inspire me to go back to doing what I was doing and pushing that envelope myself. Right. I'm always trying to be better. So keep doing what you're doing, Harris. It's again, awesome to see what you did with the leagues from where you started to what you became in the league. It's honestly amazing. And we became good friends. And even though we have our Heat Celtics rivalry, you're someone that obviously is very dear, and I won't talk too much about that rivalry right now. Listen, a lot of my Florida teams are not.
That man is on the front cover of 2K, baby. We made it to the top.
Again, a lot of my Florida teams are going through.
I'm gonna hate to 2K League family nonsense goes aside on Thursday night, baby. Patriots, Jets. I hate you, and I hate the Patriots.
Yes. I love that. I love that.
BD, we aren't garbage. That's all I care about. We are actually watchable for the first time in 5 years. It's great.
Yeah. Well, yeah, my whole sport tandem right now is the complete opposite. My Florida State Seminoles absolutely are terrible this year. It's just bad. Dolphins, we're going through what we're going through with Tua right now. Hopefully the Miami Heat can show me something this year, because if not, I will be a very silent person on social media when it comes to sports this year, and I'll just be playing my fantasy teams in the dark. So again, guys, I appreciate you guys so much. BD, it goes without being said, like the relationship that we built from the beginning as a player to you just having the trust in me to share my ideas and come in and be a part of that team. It honestly gave me the confidence to go do what I do now. I mean, like even like prior to getting the EA job, you know, even prior to getting this job, like reaching out to you and like you giving me that confidence to know that like I have the capability to go do something more than the 2K League. And like a lot of guys, I think that was the hardest thing for us. Like you built such a genuine relationship with us that it wasn't player boss. It was genuinely a friend and someone that like we can talk to every day, and like whether it's about the game, whether it's about life, whatever the case may be. So again, without going, you know, it said like thank you, BD, for everything. Obviously, we'll stay close. Hopefully, my Dolphins beat your Jets this year, but well, you know, we'll see about that. But you know, I already Boston College already beat my Seminoles. I mean, what the hell? I would have never thought that. So I'm gonna stay quiet. But again, thank you guys so much. Appreciate all you guys. Love you guys. I'll send you guys a message once I get off stream and close out. But thank you guys for being a part of it, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks, man. Later, guys.
That, man. Yeah, have a good day.
Thanks, guys. All right, guys. So I'm going to close it out. We ran a little bit of overtime. We were going to do some like college football stuff, but I'll probably say that stuff for Friday. Friday we'll be back 7:00. Still working on a topic. I think I might just do like just life, not necessarily like any guests and stuff like that. Might just come in and like just shoot the shits with you guys, talk about life, talk about whatever you guys topics you guys want to talk about, kind of like freestyle it. So it's kind of up in the air, but we'll be back Friday for sure. Great episode, man. Like that's one that honestly, it is an emotional one. It, you know, it's very close to home. You know, shout out to Mar, man. Like shout out to you guys in the chat. Shout out to everyone that like the guests that we just had on. Like, and I say this genuinely, like honestly, like I really say this genuinely, and I say this and try not to get choked up when I say it. Like you all play such an important part of who I am, and like what I became. Like I was the guy who played park. Like, you know what I mean? I played park. Like I just streamed. I played basketball. I loved basketball. And like, I didn't have like much of an idea of what I wanted to do. And like to have a support system first in my stream, like guys like from the 17 days, Honey Badgers in here, guys like that, to like motivate me and push me to try to do more than just be the streamer. I kind of took that with me everywhere I went. And like, I kind of took a piece of that everywhere I went. And so getting drafted, you know, my goal was always to like be the best player and like win a championship and blah, 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 blah. But like, I think I started to realize more that I wanted to be the best teammate, and like, I wanted to be the best person, and I wanted to be the best, you know, employee. And like, I wanted to like leave my mark, and I wanted to like know that whenever it was going to be done, that I gave everything I could to the 2K community, to the 2K League, to my streams, to like everything. And I think I've done that. And so, you know, I just want to say thank all you guys who are supporting the podcast. Again, shout out to Mar, who like, I can't do this type of stuff without him. Again, like these are guys that I consider friends beyond the game that I met from the game. So thank you to him. Thank you to you guys. Thank you to BD, Bear. Thank you to Harris. Love all you guys. We're going to continue to grow out this podcast. We're going to continue to try to bring some cool, neat ideas for you guys. I hope you guys have been enjoying it. If you guys haven't already, please follow us on other social media platforms, mods, !SND in the chat. We're on TikTok. We're on IG. We're on YouTube Shorts. We upload all the episodes on YouTube as well. So please, like, go follow, show some love. It goes a long way. We will be active throughout the whole year this year. We have a lot of things planned for you guys. Tournaments coming up, podcast 2 times a week, regular streams throughout the week. I'm going to try to do my best to balance as much content as I can for you guys on top of my job and like my day-to-day life and stuff like that. So you will have pod 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. So we'll see you guys Friday. I'll look to have a normal stream sometime during the weekend, and then we'll have some tournament information coming to you guys soon. So be on the lookout for that. All you guys that have competed in my tournaments over the year, we're upping it to the next level this year. We're gonna have some really cool stuff for you guys. So I look forward to showing you guys that. So again, thank you guys for enjoying. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys Friday. Until then, peace.